Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to my new Honey Money TV channel. We are running 9 minutes late, and yeah, technical difficulties. I promise you this. I know I've got Lee in the comments from Kodiak Bee Farm, and I know he's in there, and bless his heart. Thank you so much, Lee, for being in here. I'm kind of looking through. Just Adelina's here. All right, perfect. So we've got our mods going. So some of y'all know that on my last stream, I ended up having some internet issues back a week ago. We ended up going and getting us one of these little hot spots for some perfect data flow as far as everything goes, and I am tickled pink with that. Well, so I pushed my window a little bit too much today. I got a late swarm call from a customer that kind of knows of me, and I was looking at the time frame and I thought, man, I probably get over there. We could get them, but there's a story behind this, and the story is absolutely going to appall most of you. My friend cut some grass. He gets a phone call, or he's over cutting a yard for a customer, and he kind of running around this single magnolia tree. All of a sudden, he starts getting stung by bees, and he's looking around. And if you've ever, in the South, been on a lawnmower, you know what yellow jackets can do to you, and that's something you never forget. And this poor guy starts getting lit up, man, just one after another. Doesn't know what's going on. So, he realizes there's a bunch of something flying around, and somehow he realizes there are honeybees, and he calls his customer and he says, man, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to finish the grass, man. He said, you got bees all up in this tree. And the customer turns around and tells him, yeah. He said, is that what those are? He said, I thought those were hornets. He said, I seen this big ball hanging in my tree, and he said, I thought I'd have a little redneck fun, right? And he walks up to it and he literally goes full McGuire on it and just decides he's going to take a baseball bat and try to knock it out of the park. And does this little thing, and then he takes off running. And well, all said and done with, I don't know if he got lit up from it or not. I wished he would have, kind of teach him not to mess with those things. But anyway, all said and done with, I get the call today that there's, bees on the ground underneath the tree. There's still a ball up in the tree. And as I'm putting this together, most of you guys that keep bees, you understand if you got bees on the ground, that's because probably that's where the queen's at. So now I figure she's either injured or she's she's probably dead. So I run to the other side of town and I get over there, and the first thing I see is the pile of bees on the ground, and it's pretty good bit of them. So I set the box open and pull a frame out, drawn comb, and I set it there. And I mean, just as soon as they smelled it, man, here comes the bees. They're just going up on it. We're trying to thin them out just to get to where I'm in some tall grass and I could look for a queen. And the more I dug into it, I found her. It was kind of heartbreaking as far as that goes. But it was an opportunity to educate a family on what all's going on, how this works. And we did. We went through and we, had a few minutes, but we set the box down. We gathered up everything off the ground, smoked them a little bit, and, got them up airborne. Everything was good there. Went ahead and took the little queen. She was actually pretty small too. I'm pretty sure that she was an unmated queen, but it made me kind of wonder, well, if, there's always a chance when you have unmated queens that there could be multiples in there. And there was still a ball up on the tree, and they were, probably, I'll say the size of a cantaloupe, and they were holding pretty good. There was some still flying around. So we got everything pretty much took care of on the ground. I climbed up the ladder. I broke the branch off, brought it down. We shook all those in there, and then from there, we just kind of let everything work itself out, put the box up on the ladder. There was a lot of them flying, and, we collected up a bunch of bees. They're actually sitting out there by the truck right now. They're just kind of doing their little thing, but we're going to take those and add them to a box that I should have a video coming out here fairly soon where I made a 2-frame split from one of the colonies that I had that swarmed on me, and we took that and put it into the horizontal hive that, excuse me, that I got from Ricky Rourke, where it's there's a 6 slot, 5 frames with the dividers in there, where it's basically I can use it as a full box if I want to, or um, I can make individual 5 frame sections out of it. Well, I'm wanting to test a theory in that box, and the theory is, can I make a smaller split in that thicker, more insulated per se hive? And if I've got bees on both sides, or our temperatures are good, can I actually make a smaller split? If I find a frame that I've got maybe 1 or 2 queen cells on and a lot of nurse bees, can I throw maybe one more frame in there? And that's what we did on this, and you'll see it in the very future coming up, is that we took that colony, or took 2 frames out of a colony that had created some swarm cells, and all I did was put 2 frames in there. They had pollen, they had nectar, and I have the ability to where in that setup I can add sugar water onto the top, right? So if need be, I can put some feed in on them. I did put the other frames in there. They're just basically foundation frames from Premier, and with a plastic foundation, heavy waxed, and they're not really having the resources to draw it. I don't want them to. Don't care if they do or not. But now I've got some very good support bees where we've probably got, I know, 2 good full frames, both sides, and probably a third. So the bees that we collected up today, we're going to go ahead and add them to that. And now I did find my queen in there today. She's hatched out. I don't believe she's mated yet. Weather's been really crazy, and we're expecting tomorrow morning we're probably going to get rain for the next week. So if she didn't get out and get mated today, there's a good chance, depending on the way this week goes, that she may not get to go out for her dance until probably next Saturday. So we're just going to we're going to boost their numbers up tonight and let them rock and roll. But gang, that's kind of how my day went. So I apologize for the fact that it took me 7 minutes to tell you that I'm sorry I'm late. But absolutely want to say thank you guys for jumping in here. And part of what we're trying to do here is Honey Money TV is going to be an aspect of bee information that I'm going to try to bring to you that's not the same stuff that everybody else puts out. And not that that's a bad thing, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, so please know where I'm coming from. But there are so many great content creators out there that are making really good content about how to make splits, or how to do this, or how to do that. I have an avenue now where I can allow viewers to follow some of the bee removals that I do, and the progress, and where they go, and how well they do after we get them back home. Some of the things that I do to keep them, at the initial startup for building, and how I kind of assist them in anything if need be. If we don't have a flow on, always got to assist them. But we can sit there and watch some of these colonies, and we've already started with one. It was the colony that I removed from under a porch last year, and I put it in a horizontal hive. They overwintered extremely well, and we pulled a split off of that. And if you followed the videos that we posted already, I had a video out, was kind of like basically 3 parts. It's in my video list, where towards the end, I was showing some footage where this girl, she was acting like she was mated. Didn't look like it. You couldn't convince me she was mated. But yet I convinced myself that there's a chance that she was. But we left her alone for another 4 or 5 days. I went back out there, and there's no mistaking it now. She's absolutely beautiful, and you guys are going to love to see her. We'll get a little update. I think I put a short out on that. So if you go into my videos, check my shorts. That was funny. Okay, good. But you can, I've got a little update on her, and she is an absolutely beautiful, dark looking, I call her Carnolian, but she's just gorgeous, looks just like her mama. And we hope to see how far they progress, but they're going to do really well now that she's laying eggs. So that's kind of some updates as far as some of the things that we're doing. Where we're taking the channel is I want to bring in people for you to meet that that aren't in the upfront circles. I absolutely love my friends that are on the stream team, the Nature's Image Farm guys. Okay, I love Cayman Reynolds and the information he puts out. Bob Benny, you know, Jason Crook. Okay, he puts out some great information. There's so many other channels, and I want to bring you some new faces and some stories that are going to maybe bring some inspiration to people. I want to where you can see how everybody goes through some good times and bad times, but together as a community, we're going to get through everything together. And you're not out there, you're not alone. And one of the things that I kind of got to thinking about was, women in beekeeping. I have people that follow my stuff, all over the world, both men and women, young and old. And it's absolutely it's humbling to that. But over the course of the last 10, 12 years, I kind of think back, and I have been contacted, honestly, by a small handful, but yet still a handful of women beekeepers who would ask me different questions. There's a nice lady and her husband down in Montgomery, Alabama, and her name is Stacy Van Dorsch. They run S&B apiaries. And when she first got into beekeeping, they had the desire, like a lot of beekeepers do, to try to help out a few people from church or somebody that calls and says, "Hey, I got bees in my thing." And young beekeepers into the hobby, maybe not age, really want to get into getting the more bees that they can. And that's going to be a whole nother conversation for another day about limiting yourself regardless of how many bees you want. That's another conversation. But at the end of the day, she contacted me. She said, I can't really get a lot of the help from the local bee club folks to help me out in understanding how to get these bees out of this particular house. Renee Davenport, another Alabama beekeeper. This woman, she was in a little beekeeping chat, and she said, "I hope one day I can get some bees." And I kind of looked at her profile, realized she was in Alabama, and found out she wasn't really but about an hour and a half from me. So I messaged her and I said, I'm going to tell you what, if you'll get the boxes, I'll give you the bees. And it just absolutely blew her mind. So I want to say it was probably about 2 weeks later, she had her boxes come in from Amazon, and she had them put together, had them painted, and was sending me pictures of them going, "When can I get my bees?" I'm going, "Not right now because it's November." But she did a lot of studying and a lot of learning before early spring came. And I was excited. One evening, my wife and I drove down there, and I took a 10-frame box down to her, pulled them out, put them in her box, got her set up, and boom, she'd been keeping bees for years. She's retired, and she's about to the point where, I think she's kind of limited herself, but it is an amazing feeling to know that you had an opportunity to get somebody else into this hobby and help them grow. And I'd like to see that there's a lot more bee community as far as the small local groups that understand that together we can do we can grow. I think in some instances there's people that just don't want to help out so much because they're afraid it's going to hurt their honey sales. And I can promise you there's more beekeepers in Alabama now than there's been in probably forever, and I still run out of honey, so least of my worries. But one of the folks that I ended up there, I started looking through some names of people that I wanted to try to bring in to introduce you to, and to just ask questions to, and that's where Miss Michelle came in. I had the fortunate pleasure through Brad Murphy back at the North American Honeybee Expo in January to meet Miss Michelle, and it was like, "Hey, yeah," and we talked a little bit, and he told me a little bit that she's got a very popular TikTok channel, and so I check it out and looking and everything else. But we passed each other a time or two going up and down the aisles, and had an opportunity to where we talked. So we knew of each other, but I had not really had an opportunity to become friends with her. And as I was going down the list of things of people that I wanted to get in here, her name did come up. And so I contacted her very late, bless her heart, very late to say, hey, how would you like to go on a live stream with Yappy? And well, I can't wait for her to tell you her side of that story because she made it. She and I and her fiance have had one heck of a day trying to make sure that she could get on there. So I'm going to bring her up. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Miss Michelle of Beeneighborly and add her to the stage. Boom, there she is. What's up, girl?
Hey, so good to be here. Thank you for thinking of me.
Well, thank you. We can actually blame it on Brad Murphy. If you
I'm
guys
blaming
don't
a
know,
lot of things on Brad.
you ain't lying. Brad's a hoot. Now listen, Brad, if y'all have ever been in the same room with me and Randy McCaffrey, the 628 Dirt Rooster, okay, you will see, you'll understand that poor guy is what is Randy's like? God bless him. I want to say he's 6'5". He's pretty tall guy. All right. Well, at some point, Brad has followed me for a long time, and he's just a great guy. But Brad comes in, and now I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I feel like Danny DeVito, okay, and I've got not just one Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I got two of them, okay, because I'm just like this, but and both of them's got really cool beards. I mean, if you guys don't know either one of these people, you are so missing out. But they gang up on me as far as having a little bit make fun of Yappy kind of stuff, but either way, I mean, I love him to death. And, um, I, I got a hold of him and you were one of the people that as I was going through, I promise hand on the Bible, there's one thing that, a free cup of coffee. If I lie, I still ain't worth it. But, there was two or three ladies that, I know of that are very personable and, you were on that list of people. And when Brad and I were talking, he said, you ought to get hold of Michelle. And I went, all right, that confirms it. Let's go ahead and do this. So
Yeah,
we'll blame him
he's
for
a
it.
great guy. Kieran, his wife, is super great, and we had a ton of fun at the convention. I mean, came and it put on an amazing event. I hope everyone will go next year too because it was so great. And I had seen you and heard of you, but yeah, like you said, we really didn't get a chance to connect. And it was a great opportunity to, you know, get to meet all of your heroes that you see online in person. And I was really, really excited to see you. And and Brad, we were walking in, and he's like, "Hey, man, Yappy's right over there." And I'm like, "Where's Yappy?" So I'm like running down to find you. Of course, you're swarmed with all of the people that love you so. So I'm glad to have an opportunity to talk to you today.
Okay. So what I need for you to do is I'm gonna pull you back off stage. I want you to go down to your settings
Oh,
on under there, and then pull up your settings, and then find your audio. Okay. Somehow or another, a lot of people are actually commenting that your audio is very low.
okay.
All right. So,
All right.
so we're going to get you to
Sorry.
go. No, it's not a problem. Um, but you're still on the phone,
Let me
correct?
get my tech guy. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll pull her back down for just a second. Let them do that. Yeah, she was referring to the North American Honeybee Expo. For if you're in here and you don't know about that, then we're definitely going to have to bring you up to speed. But um, actually, that is probably one of the greatest places where us as beekeepers, no matter what aspect or what direction that you're into with your hobby or your sideline business, it's a place where we all get together and have such a great time together as family. It's the last couple of conferences that Cam has been involved with, have brought that together, and this is an example of it where I could walk in and I'm seeing people that I connect with through the socials, and now they're standing right in front of me, and I can have the opportunity to, you know, hey, what you doing? We shake hands, give hugs. We get together afterwards. We're going to dinner, and then you throw in the educational side. Okay, the 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 different classes that they put on, the products that you can buy, the money that you can save. But I mean, you talk about a family reunion, absolutely one of the best out there. And Cayman just absolutely, and the crew that he put together for the North American Honeybee Expo, absolutely just brainstormed everything. Um, I hope that this next go around he can figure out how to get it in the contract where he could ride segways around that place, because I hate to admit this, but I was there for both the days. I mean, I got in there the evening before as people were setting up and walking around, making the connections with some of the sponsors of the show and people that support the channel, my YappyBeeman side, and we just getting to see everybody. And there was still probably one aisle, I believe, off that back corner I never even walked down. That's how big this thing was. You couldn't turn anywhere without seeing somebody that you knew. Kudos to the Cayman and the crew on that. But let's do a double check here, and let's see if Michelle has upped
Okay.
her volume.
Is this
All right,
better?
guys. Oh, sounds much better. You can actually just back up a hair.
Oh,
But
sorry.
nope, perfect. All right, guys. So in the comments, let's hear, does Michelle sound better?
Do I sound better?
See,
I'm not.
yeah. Now, see, what's joyful is that they're on delay, so they're still just barely getting there, and now we go from there. But it would surprise Dave. Let's see. Mike says yes. Bingo. We're back on. All right. So good deal.
Sorry.
So, um, let me ask you this in in regards to you, we were talking earlier. I was trying to get a little bit of background about how you got into beekeeping, and you were telling me the childhood story, and then you come back into it years later. Go ahead and share with everybody what. Tell me about your first experiences, kind of what you remember on that, and then how you kind of rolled back into it later.
Um, yeah, so when I was young, like 8, 9, 10, my grandfather kept bees. He was a barber and like a circuit preacher. And he raised azaleas, and in the backyard, he had bees and he sold honey, just supplementing the household. And of course, I always wanted to get out there and play with the bees, but at that time, I mean, this was, I'm like 50, so I guess this was back in 70s, and it just girls weren't allowed to do that part. I mean, they gave us the honey frames with the bees, and we could process the honey, and we did all that, but never none of the girls and none of the cousins were allowed to get in the bees. So it was kind of always something that fascinated me, and I always wanted to know more, and I'd hear stuff and pick up little things. So that was when I was younger. And then about 15 years ago, I had a teenage daughter, and I was just divorced recently, and she wanted to do something. And anytime a teenage daughter wants to do something with you, you're like, oh yeah, let's do it, because they never want to do anything with you. And she wanted to do chickens, and I remembered the bees, and I was like, hey, let's go to bee class, maybe we could do that. And so I found a local class, and as you know, it's changed so much since way back then. There was just a lot to learn. And it was a great class. Where I am, I'm in the mountains of Western North Carolina. So it was a really great class, and you learned a lot of the basics, which you need to know, and all the parts of the hive. But it really wasn't an environment that was inclusive. And then when we went to I went to the bee association, it was kind of a lot of those same old guys, and I didn't really have a connection. So I kind of really got into it when we had a bunch of uh, women that were kind of the same level, the same process as me. And we found a mentor who was a master beekeeper in Florida and North Carolina, who kind of just took us under his wing. So it was really cool. And my daughter kind of helped out for a year, but then, as teenagers do, I've done that. I'm doing something else. So this group of girls, we all just kind of mentored each other and found that as a really good group to our own little club, kind of like the stream guys do. You have your own people, and we still do the association, but we kept bringing in a bunch of women who were having that same struggle. And after a few years, now I primarily look for new women to get involved. So that's kind of my story, and fell in love with it. I'd never wanted to be a commercial beekeeper, but I was good at using my mouth and teaching, so that's kind of where I landed. And then this year I did bees and tea, added that, and it's kind of a interactive bee-proof gazebo that I have all kinds of groups come in and they learn firsthand and see an inspection live without having to do a bee suit. So it's kind of been an evolution, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm kind of really glad you invited me, because I want to see more women, feel comfortable to get into beekeeping too, and find a place that they can, learn and do whatever they want to do. So can you hear me? No?
No, you couldn't hear me. I hit
Oh,
my mute.
okay. I was
Yeah,
like, wow,
I,
again?
no, this
I was
silly
like,
little
you don't have
microphone.
anything to say to that.
No. So what's actually interesting, I found that there's a little button down here that I can click on, and well, when I click on it, I can adjust your mic settings and do what I want to. So the StreamYard thing is really new for me.
Yeah,
It's not just like, put the phone up, hit go live. This has got bells and whistles. I'm going to say this. Brian Coper from Castle Hives has made an art out of Stream Team. I mean, but for those guys, I mean, using StreamYard for like the Stream Team and different things like that. And now I've got Lee from Kodiak Farms. He's in here as one of my moderators. And what's really great is that this dude, I like technical, I like electronic stuff. If you can plug it in a wall, 99% chance I either have one or I'm going to have one of these days, because I love electronics. So, and if you've ever seen his studio, I mean, the dude's got a room that's his studio. He's got like 7 cameras set up. I mean, he'd be sitting there, and you almost think that you're watching like the Glenn Beck show. Absolutely insane. But those are a couple of guys that really know how to do the StreamYard thing. So I'm learning a little bit as we go. There's a lot of the little bells and whistles that are sitting in front of me that I can't wait to play with, but they just don't fit right now. So we're just gonna leave them alone. But you're telling this story, and I'm actually picturing in the back of
yeah,
my mind, okay, I'm having visions of the movie Grease, all right, and here comes the pinky lady Tuscadero girls, whatever they're called. Yeah, I'm seeing your hair all up in a, in the beehive bun, right? Okay, you guys got your
yeah,
little pink jackets on, walking through the bee yard,
right.
playing some old 70s
Yeah.
music. I'm just going,
No,
okay,
you're totally right. In fact, like even on my channel, I'm like, what do you do if you have long hair and you're a beekeeper? I like speak to those things because it's a
yeah,
problem, you
yeah,
know? Uh, so yeah, yeah, it really is. And it's okay to be a girl beekeeper and be a girl.
well,
And well, a lot of times you get in these situations and you want to try and be, join in with the guys. I mean, I'm a property manager in my real life, so I know how to talk to construction, but it's nice to just be you. And we really have a good time, and we have a lot of like after parties. So
yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, you said you were in the mountains of North Carolina. You're in
Yeah,
Sourwood territory. up there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually kind of between Asheville and Haywood County.
Okay.
So the further west you go, the better the sourwood, like Robbinsville area. And a lot of the beekeepers here actually truck out to that area just for sourwood. But I have a lot of berry where I am.
Yeah.
Um, so in fact, I put a vintage on my honey every year because, as you know, you never know exactly what you're going to get flavor wise.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's
but yeah,
funny. That's see, there's just that little tweak of a twist that makes
yeah,
your, just a
yeah,
little something that sets you apart from the others. That's pretty cool right there.
yeah,
Um,
we're still like waiting for 2016. That was the vintage.
yeah,
Lots of wild berries and blackberries in the area, and yeah, every year is different. And I mix all my honey. I know a lot of beekeepers, take that off to try and get that premium sourwood. I
yeah,
always mix it all year, and so you never know what you're going to get, and it's kind of fun. We actually have a spin party where everyone comes and everyone helps each other spin out,
yeah.
and yeah, so we're all like, what year are you going to get? And I have another woman beekeeper who lives in a holler that has a lot of old crab apple, and her honey tastes like apple. It's the most amazing honey I've ever had.
Wow,
It's crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I now you guys, I um, so my wife's best friend, she grew up with her and her husband. They're up on the I want to say, you've got the mountain that's basically North Carolina kind of goes up and then you just drop right back down towards the coast. And I think they're kind of up towards that top along that little ridge, maybe to the right side of it. And that's about the only thing I know about North Carolina, other than now my daughter lives right there where Tennessee and North Carolina and Virginia all meet. Okay. Right
Yeah.
at that very tip of Eastern Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so I've been up there a bunch, and I'm just trying to figure out a way where I can trailer a bunch of hives up to that little section of Tennessee, um,
Yeah.
just to put them on sourwood. But Alabama's real ticky on their laws because I can I can get my hives inspected. I can cart them out to almonds, all right, and then bring them back in. And as long as I'm under a pollination contract, then I can take them out. I can bring them back in,
Yeah.
but I can't just take my bees up to Tennessee without a pollination contract just to make honey and then bring them back into the state. So
I kind of think
it
North Carolina is kind of the same way as far as I know. I'm not at that level, so but that if I remember correctly, that is it. But we have a lot of Apple guys around here,
yeah,
and I know they can use that to kind of get in there. And I don't know what Tennessee's laws are, but I know exactly where you're talking about. My daughter was born in Boone, North Carolina, which
okay,
isn't very far from there. So
okay,
I get that. Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a very popular thing to do. Um, and I think North Carolina beekeepers are trying to do their best to keep North Carolina beekeepers here. So
yeah.
um,
Well,
you can't blame them.
I think it's funny. So I'm looking at some of the comments down here that are coming in, and Mike Tex Nichols, he said the official North Carolina insect is the honeybee. I'm not arguing. I don't know if he's being serious or not, but I mean, if
Sure it is. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is that is cool. Yeah, that is cool.
Well, I think we have the largest beekeeping association of any state in America.
Yeah,
North Carolina does.
really.
And we have a lot of honeybee research here in North Carolina.
I would
And
believe it.
yeah, and well, we have, if you think about it, we have the coast, we have, the plains, and we have the mountains. So you can kind of, the range of everything is right here in one state. So
Well,
they do a lot of great research. I mean, I think we were kind of talking about the queen failures that they're kind of seeing
yeah,
right now. And I know that um, they had a big program to try and do some research on more about why that's happening.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, so earlier, you know, not having a very long, extensive past, knowledge of Michelle, we ended up we talked for about a good hour today, and some of the things we were talking about, she was telling, I was asking her, colony numbers and how things were going, and if anybody that's kept bees for more than 3 or 4 seasons, it's a roller coaster. One year you do great, and then the next year no matter what you do, you're losing some colonies. And it brought up we were talking about some of the winter losses, and she had brought up the thought that they're doing research over in North Carolina in regards to tell me if I'm on the right track, but colony failure due to poorly mated queens.
yes.
um, and so there's a theory behind that. This is I say this a lot when I'm doing some of my talks to the bee clubs or at conferences. I tell people, say, we're beekeepers, okay. um we are we are trying to keep a bug that there are people that go to college for 4 years and pay an awful lot of money to get a piece of paper that says they know enough about that bug to spend the rest of their life learning more about it. And here we are as beekeepers without any of that 4 years worth of college bills and tuitions and everything, trying to keep up with that bug and learn from each other and what information's put out there. And the more I think about it now, it's like, well, we would probably be better suited to go to college and spend the tuition money based on how much it cost over the years of buying boxes and losing bees and all that. That we might have to run some numbers, okay, and see if
Maybe.
it might be cheaper actually to go to college for a couple of years. But anyway, that being said, but
It might
I
be.
think, yeah. I mean, do you feel comfortable enough to kind of share any of the information about what you're hearing about that research, or do you not know yet? Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think it's in really early stages, but they have, they're trying to figure out why queens that used to last 3 to 5 years are lasting less than a year. In fact, if you see the survey they put out, uh, I can't remember the survey name. I can't remember all of a sudden, but they added queen failures as a new determination of the loss of a hive, and researchers picked up on that. And the early hypothesis, and I'm saying that because I didn't see anything that's been definitive yet, is that the when the queens go out to get mated, that they are not getting quality, um, you know, uh, stuff from the guys. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's not. And then I'd also heard that she can selectively keep or dismiss whatever she's getting from a drone, and they aren't. They're laying eggs that are not well suited, and the bees are just pulling them out.
Hmm.
um, or there isn't enough to last through the winter. So you're ending up with a queen failure right when there's nothing you can do anything about it.
Yeah.
Um, and they don't really know exactly why they think that's happening. At first, it was like, why aren't queens doing it? And now they're looking at maybe it's the drone. Um, that's the problem. So I think they're dancing around that, but there's no doubt that queens are not lasting as long as they used to. And then we had kind of talked about this, that Bob Benny was talking at the conference about potentially wondering if early mated queens were not getting the same amount of diversity as a late mated season queen, and that nukes that you're getting earlier are seeming to fail at a much higher rate than the ones that are mated maybe even like 4 weeks after drone emergence,
Yeah.
which kind of backs that up. So I mean, he does a lot of good stuff down there. I mean, so I think it's going to be interesting to watch. And I know the commercial guys, they requeen every year, as you were saying, in the fall.
Yeah. Now, yeah, a lot of them. And Bruce is in the comments from Bruce's Bees, and make sure I'm saying this right, Bruce. If you don't, if you're still in there, just give me a yeah, that sounds right. But a lot of my understanding, a lot of your bigger um, pollination guys, your commercial beekeepers, they tend to want to requeen in the fall. Get those queens in there, get them, you know, get the the bees acclimated to her because as soon as that weather changes and they're ready to put them on something, I mean they're coming out like gangbusters, and so that's what they need. Well, then we kind of go through that winter window, and you don't have anything really getting produced. There's nowhere, nobody's really doing anything with queens. But then all of a sudden spring hits, and what's the guys down in Florida doing? I mean, they're popping them queens out just one after another as quick as they possibly can because I mean, us in the southeast region, I mean, we're already hunting for them. We've said it before. Bruce is 2 weeks behind, or 2 weeks behind ahead of me in everything as far as spring starting. Your spring starts down, at the per se the equator or down in that Florida region, and it just starts to grow and come up, and you can follow it. And so once that window of temperatures kind of gets going, then our guys down in Florida, man, they're starting to put those queens out, and they know they've got to get them going because they're just going to keep selling out. And everywhere you turn around, somebody wants a queen. Because a guy like Bruce or a guy like me, we know that we want to get some splits made. We want to do our increases, but we don't have the drone production in our area. So
Hmm.
we may be in a position where we need to get queens so we can make splits. And there's plenty of hobbyists out there doing the same thing. So they're
Yeah.
going through those queens, fairly fast. And but you've also got your nuke makers, your package makers that are saying, hey, we just, we've brought our stuff off of almonds or off of this crop or that, and now it's time to start making packages. And that's where now, I mean, a pallet. I don't know how many boxes come on a pallet. I've never had, I've never sold any. I've never ordered any, but I know you get a pretty good bit off of a pallet. That's a
Yeah.
lot of queens to get going on top of trying to fill orders for the individual. So, can you
Yeah.
get them out there and get them poorly mated? Are we passing out poorly mated? It just
I
depends
don't
on who
know.
you talk to. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, somebody
I mean,
somebody with
you can't stop a whole industry, and pollination is important. I mean, it definitely is. I think there's a place for every single kind of beekeeper, and the commercial guys are an important part of our economy in America. And if people don't think so, they're just wrong. And so you got to be able to accommodate whatever they need to get things going. It just when you start talking about backyard beekeepers, if they're coming off, they're inexperienced anyway, as you know, and if they're coming to the table with a, you know, low production queen and they can't recognize the signs when she starts, putting up spotty brood and they aren't thinking, they don't want to squish one bee. They're
yeah,
definitely not going to eliminate a queen right in the fall and let her, let them make a new one. So
yeah,
it's kind of a balance, I guess. My only concern, I guess, if it's a concern, is that if we only have a certain number of queen producers, are we doing the same genetics? So
yeah,
is this is where I think that it'll start eventually impacting negatively commercial keepers, even if we start, rolling through with the same genetics. So, I hope that we'll see more queen production. I'm like you, where I am is a lot later than even in the coast. So I kind of look
hmm
to them to know what's coming next.
yeah,
Um, but we get nukes from Georgia, like we are talking for backyard keepers here in Western North Carolina. And I'll tell you, sometimes those don't do very well. So,
yeah,
and I don't know if it has to do with where came from, or exactly what that is. That's beyond my pay grade, but it'll be interesting to watch as we get better hygiene queens coming out.
Yeah.
I hope that'll help a lot in longevity and might, you know, protecting us against mites, because it's just really challenging for anyone these days. I told you, I lost 60% of we lost 60% of our hives this year.
Yeah.
And, you know, all I'm doing right now is gearing up and trying to get my apiary back. But if you're just a small beekeeper who just wants to do it for the, you know, the love of the bees, and, you know, some pollination and occasional honey, it's really, really overwhelming. You know, it's one thing to go to class and learn what brood looks like, and it's another to learn how to combine hives and look for, you know, spotty brood, and what do I do if I mean, it's just really, really difficult now. So I
Yeah.
love what you're doing, because that helps them, you know, helps those backyarders get a better understanding. I mean, you can only do so much in class, but you know, doing what you're doing, it helps, you know?
Yeah. I now I'd asked Bruce what his thoughts were, and he was suggesting that, the post solstice queens generally tend to do better. He says, that Greg Burns, our friend from Nature's Image Farm, as well as Bob Benny, both suggest that that's actually a better queen. So there's probably a time frame thing in there, that kind of corresponds with that process. But you know, there's so many. Beekeeping is it's so precious, it's beautiful, and it could be so simple, and then just as quick as you get past that sweet little dream, all right, and then you actually get a box, you realize that was the biggest lie that was ever told besides
Yeah.
Santa Claus. um but at the end of the day, there's Randy McCaffrey and I were talking about this in what we do. Everything is 99% recycled. There's very few new that comes into beekeeping, and we just keep recycling. And you know, I've been doing it for 10 years. I've seen a lot of things do that already in such a short time. But there's a lot of the things that I've looked at that I didn't look at from a complete perspective. Everybody knows that primarily I do bee removals. That's what has put me on the map, is bee removals, and my experience with what I see in that world. My first couple of years, I tried everything under the sun. I mean, there was no rules for me when it came to what I did with my bees, how I worked them. I mean, I would take and pull a queen out of a hive, all right, and I'd put an orange dot on her, something that wasn't a normal color. I just put an orange dot on her, and I would hold her in a cage for a minute, and then I'd smoke those bees, and I'd walk over to another colony, and I'd pull the queen out of that. All right. And I'd put an orange dot on her, and I would smoke that colony. Then I walk back over to the first one. I drop the new one in there, put the lid back on it, go on about my business. Why an orange dot? Just so that I could walk back in there 5 days later and see if I still had a queen with an orange dot, or if I had queen cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, I would take the first orange dot one, and I'd go through her and the one that I just took the other one out of. And all I did was smoke them. But I wanted to know, is it something that I could do? And would the bees, why is it that we have to, why do they always say put her in a little cage, protect her for 2 days, do this and that? Now, there's probably going to be people in the comments when they're hearing this going to go, yeah, try that with Russian bees, or try that with this bee, or try that with that bee. Okay, send me a queen and I will. But that's another story. But there were things that I wanted to try and understand. I wanted to push those boundaries. I wanted to, why this? The most humorous, to me, the most humorous argument that I ever got into in all the years of doing bee stuff was, I literally was videoing. I was out in my yard, and I had the craziest chaos that I could ever imagine. I was literally in the yard, and I had swarms that were coming to my yard They were not coming out of my colonies. And there was one box that was sitting there, but it seemed like all of a sudden everything was just happening around this one particular box. And as I'm looking around, I'm seeing all this chaos, but I see this little ball of bees on the ground. And I just I reached down there and pick it up, and it's got a queen in it. So I'm holding her, trying to find a cage to put her in, and I get her in there. And as I'm looking, there's two other balls, little balls, and they all had queens in them. And all this was going crazy. So, but I'm videoing this. I'm taking this and I put it on one of the bee groups that I was at, saying, this is crazy. You'd never believe this. It's amazing. But that spurred an argument with one particular person in there when I said that I suggested that there were 3 unmated queens. And this person said, there's no such thing in a swarm. All swarms have mated queens. And I said, well, then your book's lying to you. And he said, well, so you're smarter than the 16th reprint of the beekeeping ABCs and 1, 2, 3s or whatever it was. I mean, he just proceeded to dog cuss me. And I was like, man, and then a bunch of people jump in there and go, man, I've caught many of these with that. But that just triggered this thought process of, it makes me wonder, where did they come up with that information years ago to determine that?
Yeah, I mean, I was at a friend's bee yard, open up, and you opened it up before, and all of a sudden you're too late, and all the virgin queens are running around on you, right? And you try to grab whatever you can, and then I've been on ones where, like, I think I had a little swarm like way too early. There's no way it's swarming. It was in February, late February this year. Small one, probably had a virgin in it. It was hard to tell, but it looked like it. But then you're going, well, you're not supposed to have it. And then when I went over about 3 weeks ago, we got one off of a porch, and it was an old lady's house, and a really sweet lady, and she said her daddy was a beekeeper, and she kept sitting on the couch going, now if you find more than one queen in that thing, make sure to split them. I mean, I don't think it's new. It's been going around, and someone just wrote a paper, like you said, and just decided that most swarms have the old queen, and that's mostly how it is.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing when they say you're not supposed to mix bees. New beekeepers don't understand. We're just moving hive frames around, and it doesn't matter, and I think that you're right. You get to this sense, you get to a place where you realize that not everything is black and white.
Yeah.
Beekeeping. It's just not. And
yeah.
You can break and push those rules because it does happen naturally anyway.
Yeah. The one thing that I could say is beautiful about a bee colony is it is the same every time in this. Nature, we all should, for the most part, understand how mammals reproduce, how birds reproduce, fish, and everything else. Well, nature designed a process for a bee colony to recreate itself. And in such, as beekeepers, we've even got to the point where we have to even name what that type of swarm is, okay, based on the time of the year, the size of the swarm, and certain circumstances. We've even got a name for what it is at this point. Our very early swarms are going to be large, so those are reproductive swarms, and they happen early in the season and all these things, blah, blah, blah. But then we go through a little bit, say a month or so of flow, and now we have overcrowding swarms. And then, the tree fell down and busted up all the comb, and now that big ball's hanging up in that tree, and that's an abscond. Now, once it leaves that little tree and it ends up in grandma's crepe myrtle, all right, and it's just hanging there, did we know it was an abscond, or do we think it was a swarm? Well, it's now October. It shouldn't be a swarm, but it could be a swarm. We've got to put standards on everything. And I kind of got to think back, and it's like, well, if a colony didn't swarm right out of the gate as a reproductive swarm, but it took them an extra month when the flow got going and the numbers got built up. Is that a reproductive swarm? Just a later one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't, I think, yeah, I think they do so much more than what we think we know they're doing.
Yeah.
I had a message earlier today from a new keeper. She's very excited getting nukes and all this, and she's consumed everything, watched everything, and she's like, I'm just really nervous. I'm gonna, and I said to her, I said, look, we're really just helpers. That's all we really do. They're gonna
Yeah.
figure it out. Even if you mess it up, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna do what they need to do to survive.
We,
And all you can do is help. And honestly, if you think you're doing something else, you're not. So just hang in there. You're not going to do anything that can seriously damage them, except for a few things. And you'll know it if you do that, and you'll fix it.
yeah.
That's it.
We're enablers. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about this. We're enablers. If we're not enablers, then we're preventors, because if we give them enough and we take care of them, then we enable them to grow. But if not, then we're preventing them for it. And then they're just going to do what they do. But so let me throw this curveball at you. I mean, it's not bad.
Okay.
So did you tell me you're 14 or 16 years into this side of your beekeeping?
I'm like 15 years into it. So,
okay, so we'll
I actually added it up. I guess if you don't count bee school, it's 14. But
okay,
my second, yeah.
All right. So I got two questions. The first one's going to be, what is probably, and if you want to take a pass on this to kind of think about it some more later, we can come back to it. But of all your beekeeping experiences, in all of this, what's the first thing that just came to your mind? Is something that just really just, was like, wow, crazy, never would have thought that to happen, or this is the coolest thing in the world. What was that one moment?
There's actually two, the good and the bad. The good was the first huge swarm that I had landed in a perfect place, and it was huge. I think it was the first video I actually posted on TikTok. And it was, I didn't know how to do a swarm at that time. I'd read everything and done it, but to actually do it and then to have my hands on the branch with all of those bees just right there, you know how that feels.
Yeah.
And knowing that it was just going to be chaos, and just it was a leap of faith. And I was like, I can do it. And I shook that thing and it just went right to the box. I was hooked. I was so hooked.
Yeah.
That was it. And then to watch them all march in, I mean, everything, it was amazing. And I'll never catch a swarm again that will give me that feeling. It's kind of like, I guess, like heroin or whatever. But yeah, it was the most amazing thing that I ever did in beekeeping.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone gets to a point where it's something like that goes, I'm going to do this forever. I'm going to do it forever. So yeah, that was a big swarm. Yeah.
Look at you. You're still like, yeah, okay.
Oh, I know.
You're like a
I
kid
know.
at Disney World right now.
I know.
Yeah.
I can see it. I love it. And my daughter was actually filming it, and at the time, and of course, you know how the bees, when you shake, are everywhere. And she's like, Mom. I was like, just keep filming. Just keep filming. We got this. It was really cool. And the only bad one that I remember was when they took away the antibiotics. And that year I got European foul brood. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after they changed the law, and I didn't have a bee vet, and nobody would be a bee vet.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of colonies because of it. Even with the positive test from the inspector, they would not prescribe it. So those two things stand out to me. But yeah, and then all the people. How about you?
It's just funny to sit here and watch you getting all, in that little memory zone of that first swarm. A lot of people know that my biggest video that ever took off, and it was the one where it was, if I hadn't caught it on video, you wouldn't believe me. And what's funny is that, the call comes in, big, gigantic, huge ball of bees hanging up the tree. I pull in, I see him hanging there, pull the truck up underneath him, throw a tarp on the truck, and put a 10 frame up there. I mean, it was like, as as a as a I think that the closest thing that we can compare a swarm call to is knowing that you've got a present under the tree and you're on your way to go get the present, but you just don't know, what it's going to be. And then you pull up there and it's like, wow, and you feel like that kid again. Well, I pull up and I'm seeing this just gonzo size, huge swarm. So, I'm setting stuff up, this and that. And all of a sudden I realize, holy crap, I don't have my camera. All I have is my phone. Now, I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at my camera bag sitting over here, and it's actually a shooting bag for, that it's got its main big bag, and it has a pouch, an added bag to both sides and ends, and I can't fit anything else in it. And that's full of cameras and audio stuff and everything. And so now all I got's my phone. And so I get everything set up. I climb up on the truck. I hit record. And I'm like, check it out. Check it out. Oh my, whoa, this thing's huge. Blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm like, but you guys know me. So I'm like, let's test their temperament. So I reach in there and I grab a handful of bees and I'm going, man, they're doing great. And I, shake them off like that. And I look back up. And as I look back up, there's the queen, literally right where I just scooped those bees up. She's right there. And I'm going, whoa. And I reach up and I grab her. And now I'm holding her like that. You know what? So let me say this. That was pure dumb luck. Everybody in the comments can say, you dang Skippy, pure dumb luck. Okay. That ought to be a t-shirt. Yappy's full of pure dumb luck. Because how in the world can you literally see a queen, grab her, not pinch her, not hurt her, get her that quick and then still be able to? So I'm sitting here and I literally I'm holding her going, oh, do you see this? And now it's like I've got my queen cage sitting there, but I'm doing this and this, and I'm going, I'm sorry guys, I gotta sit you down for a minute. So I set the phone down and I grab the queen cage and I'm trying to twist the cap off, and then I get her in there and I put that cap back on and I'm going, do you see this? Yeah. That doesn't happen. Let me tell you a funnier story that most people don't know is I had done that same thing 3 or 4 days before that. Now, but similar to, I pull in the driveway and my wife and my daughter out in the side yard where all the beehives are at, which they never are. But they're standing right by the edge of the road. And as I turn around, my wife goes, and I'm like, what? She said, you got a swarm. So I kind of go over there and look, and I just walk over, because we've got all these little like I call them cedar trees. They're that little cedar type tree, not really a pine tree, but we got some of those growing on the side of the road. And I walk over and there's like a nice little ball, cantaloupe size, and then there's another ball about the same sitting right next to it. And most people would think, oh, we got two queens. Well, there's possible it could have been, but when you look at what they were hanging on, you'd realize no, that they were in that close to each other. I'm like, huh. But as I'm standing there and I'm looking at it, I'm going, I'm thinking, let's go ahead and take. So I pull my phone out before I can hit record. The queen's walking across the top of one of those balls.
Oh wow!
I reached down and grabbed her. Now I'm holding the queen. I've got no camera going, and I'm going, and I've got no queen cage. So I literally, queen in hand, walk back across the street, go get a queen cage out of the truck, put her in it, walk back over, and now I finally hit record, and I'm going, "Welcome back, y'all." And you ain't gonna believe this, but we got us a swarm over here, and I think it come out of one of my boxes. But here's the crazy thing, and I go, "I've already caught the queen before I shook them."
Mm-hmm.
4 days later, I'm plucking a queen out of 10 pounds of bees. All these years, that's the only time that's ever happened. So, anyway, long story short, and thank you so much
Yeah.
for everybody that's hanging in there. But that was
Yeah.
probably the size of the swarm, the availability, the out. What's the word I'm looking for? The reception from the entire world on actually watching the video and how well that did. But I mean, I videoed that big one, hit upload, didn't even think about the title. I was just like, because in that moment, it's thinking, if I hadn't caught this on video, you wouldn't believe that I just reached up here and plucked a queen out of 10 pounds of bees.
Oh yeah.
All right.
No.
And blah, blah, blah. And
Well, I will tell you that I don't know that I personally have ever found the queen in a swarm. I have just been good at making swarms go into a box where I can tell the queen is there. And I know that a lot of the swarm catchers like really look for the queen. I mean, you see that everywhere. I am just bad at it, and it's okay. So I have just figured out how to do it without finding her every single time. Now,
let me,
one time we did have a swarm in the hemlock out here,
yeah.
way high, and Tex got his gun and came over. We put a tarp down, and he shot the branch because at that we didn't have the equipment we needed, and it fell. And he reached in and found the queen. And so the only time it's ever happened that I've seen it was Tex, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was, but that's okay. And then I'm like, you don't have to find the queen. So maybe that's why I'm always like, you don't have to find the queen and telling my beekeepers because I'm just
Well,
bad at
and
it.
here's a little side tip, okay? And this is the joy to see those of y'all that's sticking this out and hanging out with us. We're going to drop little nuggets here and there. It may be on accident, it may be on purpose. You never know. But here we go. All right. This is nothing is concrete, nothing is set in stone. And if you feel it is in beekeeping, you're reading the wrong books. But here's my point: you can shake that swarm, put it on the tarp, they go running in. Everybody's happy. Okay. Give them a little bit, and then you can go back in there and pull a couple of frames. I have found after you let them sit for a while, you're probably going to find your mated queens are going to be up in the middle of that on those frames because there's the smell of the wax that's going to draw them to it. But more times than not, if I have unmated queens, they're going to be on a wall and they're going to run. That's not a rule, but that's just the more common. Now, yes, you can find either or on either or, but it seems weird that for me, I find a lot more of the unmated queens running around on a wall. But now here's something else that is a little clue about the actions inside the box. Okay. If you can take one or two of those frames out and you're looking at them, you may set one to the side or something because you're still looking for your queen. But if you see those bees running circles inside that box, while they're still fanning and trying to get everybody, in there, you better watch because there's most likely that queen's going to be unmated. If they're all in there and they're in one spot, but they're fanning them wings, they're just trying to get that smell to get everybody in there, the first 5-10 minutes after catching that swarm, you can pull a frame and all the bees are stationary and they're fanning.
Yeah.
She's probably a mated queen. But if you've got bees running circles, all right, it's almost like they're trying to chase her down to fan her what little bit of pheromone she's got. And I don't know, but anyway,
That's going to be something I watch for. I appreciate that nugget because I'm always looking for fanning, And in fact, I recently, I just did a video on fanning and how important it is, and to see if you have the queen. And but like you said, every beekeeper that I meet has a nugget like that,
Yeah.
whatever. And maybe you've heard it 1,000 times, or maybe someone else has told you. But that seems to be, to me, class is very important. Mentoring is very important too. If you have a mentor, I think that that's tremendous asset for you and your success. But it's those little nuggets that get translated every time I meet beekeepers
Yeah.
who've been doing it for a while, that I never forget.
Yeah.
And I always seem to find that it's true, or I can use it somehow. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Well, um don't ever think that after you catch a queen in there, what now here's another thing. If you ever find that if you ever have the ability to catch that queen, whether it's through the hair clip or you
Yes.
catch her and put her into a cage on your own, what's interesting is once you put her in something that contains her, watch her, because they will immediately blow up. Meaning, it's like they just all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I'm caught, poof, and I'm back to a mated queen will puff to full size. Um, the ones that generally are unmated, they sneak through the cracks because they won't hold. So don't use a
Yeah,
hair clip on an unmated because they're going to get out.
yeah.
But
That one I was telling you about, we had all those little ones. There was no way, because they were all virgins, but it was very clear. We
yeah,
did actually. I guess I actually did catch some of those, but
yeah.
yeah, we couldn't clip them. We couldn't clip
Oh
them.
no, yeah. Been
No
there,
way.
done that, learned it real quick. That's where, if you guys ever want to literally just learn how to catch and handle those queens, spend some time here. Let's go back to this one part. Here's you will treat your bees better when you have skin in the game. I suggest everybody wear a bee suit, head to toe. Make sure duct tape it and everything else. But I if you write with your right hand, don't wear a glove on your left. Put some skin in the game,
Yeah.
and you will find very quickly how much you treat your bees differently than you do with gloves on. How
I
well
have.
you handle things and everything else like that. That's one of the little fun things that I like to tell people. It's like, when you don't have skin in the game, you
Yeah.
don't think that you're buzzing through these things. You don't think, oh, doing anything wrong. They'll let you know pretty quick. But
Yeah. Yeah. My
that's
mentor, I've done it somewhat. I have neuropathy a little, so I
yeah,
can't tell, and so I'll squish them. And so I do try and wear gloves, because I will do it, but well, we'll squish them. But uh, you're right, and in fact, even wearing the blue gloves, the nitron gloves, will give you a
yeah,
little more feeling. Yeah, I should do that one day, but it's okay. We're all growing.
yeah.
Even me.
Well,
For sure me. So
we've got we got old Mr. Brown jumped in here. The bee commander has made it to the conversation. He's down in the comments,
hey, how are
and
you?
he's jumped in. He's got the Hive Alive, to make sure I'm saying this right there, brother. The Hive Alive
Yeah.
conference down in Slidell, Louisiana. Make sure you put in the comments, brother, where that weekend, so I can make sure I say it here in the video. But he's
November,
going for
right?
September, yeah, somewhere in September. But
Yeah.
um, he's got a really great lineup. You can I believe yeah, be a live conference. But what's the date and what's the
Town.
website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody gets to see that because now I spoke at it last year and it was his first initial out there and had a great turnout. Had some really good speakers. Absolutely great time. And now he's brought in some a lot of new faces to present this year with some new information. I think that's going to be great, but it's going to be a real good one. It'd be down in Slidell, and the facility is very nice. I don't know if they'll let you do it, but until they tell you not to, bring a fishing pole because there's a monstrosity of a lake right out behind that place, and I tell you it. Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, and
But
they're great people, and I love their candles, by the way. I
oh
have
yeah,
several. Oh my, but they're really great people. We wanted to go last year, and we'd already had something else booked, but we'll see. I think it's going to
right.
depend on if Brad goes again. So someone needs to get a hold of Brad.
Well, Brad. Now I'm going to tell you this. Brad was okay. So the Be Alive conference is the 27th and 28th of September. So
Yeah.
definitely want to look that up. Be Alive conference has got he's got a .com on there somewhere, and but look that up. Get involved. Um, it's kind of like it's a little bit smaller, not by much, but it's a hair smaller than the North American Honeybee Association Expo. But hey, well, there it is.
Well, I mean,
BeAliveConference.com. Thank you, Lee, for make sure you get that in there.
yeah, good to
Be,
see you. Yeah, and I think it's great. It's good to have them two different times a year too, because you're going to have different perspectives on what happened,
yeah.
and in the meantime, so I think it's great, and
Well,
I hope we can make it this year.
so
Yeah.
all right, we've talked. Let's throw. Let me ask on a direction on a thought process that you would do in your beekeeping management processes in your bee yard. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Here's the scenario.
Oh.
You had a swarm. You had a swarm today. Was out of you had a swarm out of one of your colonies today.
No, we thought we were going to have one, but we didn't. But I know I've had swarms out of my
Okay.
colony. So
All right.
okay.
So hypothetically, you were out sitting on the porch, and you were you know peeling some potatoes and enjoying that cool mountain air, and all of a sudden you look out and holy cow, there's a swarm coming out of box number 3. And now it's great because you were only a couple days past the rain. It wasn't your fault that it happened because you just, the weather kept you from being proper management. So, because we know you are an awesome beekeeperette. All right.
Yeah.
So this is not your fault, but,
Yeah.
but hive number 3. All right. They swarmed yesterday,
Right.
and you caught them and you put them in a box out on the back row. They're doing their thing. But now today, what is your thought process for the colony that swarmed yesterday out of box number 3? What is your management ideas, or what are you going to do with that colony now?
So, the colony they left is what you're asking.
Yes, the one
Yes.
they left.
So I will peek in. I won't do a deep dive, but I'll peek in. And I won't lift a frame, just in case the virgin has not emerged. But I will probably make sure that they've got enough resources and enough bees. If not, I'll shake some bees in. I will let them sit for about 4 days to 5 days, and see if I can sneak in a frame of eggs just in case.
And
So that's usually what I'll do. Anyone I'm worried that would not have a mated queen, or there's a queen in mating phase, I always give them 3-day-old eggs.
okay, but
Uh,
now are you talking about you're talking about the box that you shook the swarm into, or the ones they came
oh, no,
from?
no, no. No, you're talking about the swarm and they went into? I'm sorry. I thought you meant the one they left.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Okay.
yeah, no, I just because typically that means that the virgin just is going to emerge. If I start going in there, I may damage that virgin.
I
It might
gotcha.
have, you know what I'm saying? So I don't
Yeah.
like to do anything. If I'm going to look at a box, I always tip my boxes up before I even move them or anything.
Yeah.
And that way, no queen cells ever get damaged.
Okay.
Well, that's not always true, but
Well, yeah.
I'll always, every single time I tip my boxes up. And if I do that, I can see if there are queen cells right there without damaging them.
Okay.
But I normally don't get into those until after a safe time to where she would come out,
Mhm.
because she's going to walk around for a while after she even emerges, and the teenage years we call it,
Yeah.
and before she goes on her flight, and also depends on the weather.
Yeah.
But just in case that the queen got eaten when she went out, or whatever happened, it got damaged or whatever, I always give them another chance.
Yeah. No.
So that's what I do, is give them eggs, and if nothing else, it's going to boost their colony numbers and give all those girls something to do until that queen gets her, act together.
I got you. Cool deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
so
What do you do? Is that not what you do?
well,
Okay.
um I've got a completely different outlook on that. But now here's something that I honestly I I look at further down the road than what you do, and that's going for, given a certain time frame, and then it's just saying, you know what, I'm going to drop a frame of eggs in there for the just in case. All right. That covers, depending on the time frame, but that covers a lot of possibilities. Now, let me tell you my management idea. Okay. I realize now I've got a colony sitting there that half of my bees were hanging up in that tree. Now I've caught them. There's a lot of things that I can do even with how I'm going to manage that. It would surprise you that I could take that swarm, shake them into a box, catch that queen. All right. And I'll cage her, and I'll just put her in a storage tote, and with a hole in it up until close to evening time. All right. One aspect of it is to take that queen and hold her off, and I can dump all those bees right back in, because what is my thought process? Do I want to make bees? Do I want to make honey? Or do I want to make increases in my yard? So I first have to look at where am I at in my season, and what is my goals for that particular colony. So if I want to keep that colony going, then one of the things, they just made it easier on me, is that, okay, I know where you guys are at in your cycle, and now I've got to fix that. And part of fixing that is, how am I going to manage that colony? Am I going to go in there and I'm going to start, am I going to pull every single queen cell out of that thing? Or will I take one or two frames and go ahead and make a small split, but I still want to make honey off of that colony this year. So I need to keep those numbers up. So I need to readjust it. I need to manipulate it to a point where they get so darn confused that they don't realize that they actually didn't swarm.
Yeah.
But you got to be real.
And I've actually combined them back later and just taken a small nuke off with that queen when it's like high honey production, or if they dwindled, if they took too many bees. Have done that. I've done a double queen hive too, and just let them battle it out on different ones. It's not for this scenario. So, because I always feel like the bees pick the better queen than me. So I can totally see that. But I guess honey is not my big production right now. Like that's not my focus. So I can see where that would be if I was all about the honey production, then as my primary, that would be a good way to do it. And it's just interesting, because I'm like, I just want to grow colonies and give bees to new beekeepers.
Yeah. Now, see, I would not tell a first year or second year beekeeper to just, go catch that swarm, and if you're fortunate enough to catch or clip or whatever with that queen, and take and dump those bees in that box. Because here's where your problem goes. You now have the possibility to have 3, 4, up to 15 queen cells or more in that colony. And that's what happens. That's how you develop your secondary, your cast, or your after swarms. Because if that colony is still strong, they now have the numbers, the food resources, and everything else going on in that colony to keep those to create those extra swarms. And so, in the hypothetical that we didn't add the bees back, that's a whole nother management conversation.
Yeah.
that video will be coming up soon. But in the hypothetical, I took all those bees, that queen, I threw them in a 5 frame nuke. All right, they're happy go lucky. They needed it. That's going to be my increase for the year.
Mhm.
All right,
Mhm.
but I went back into that original colony. I'm where I'm at, which differs from your thought process. Not is that
Yeah.
I don't want them to have an opportunity to swarm again. All
Yeah.
right. Now,
Yeah.
and this is so here's a funny story. 4 or 5 days ago, I'd have to go back and look. It was just here recently, within the last, we'll call it 6 or 7 days. I I had my horizontal hive number 2, which I had manipulated. I actually even pulled a split off of that thing, a couple of frames. I made a split off of it. I opened them up some space. I was manipulating it in a completely different normal thought process based on the type of box and where I wanted my frames. I moved all the brood to one end of the box. And then anything that was a honey frame went to the end of it closest to the entrance, and then I gave them multiple new frames to start drawing. All right. This is an excellent thought process if we had a good flow on. But
Mhm.
just about the time that I did all this, the weather turned cold and the bees
Mhm.
weren't flying as much, and it just hadn't kicked in yet.
Mhm.
So now they're kind of cooped up, and what they are bringing in, they're backfilling in because we don't have new comb. Nugget number 1733
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Listen, people, you can take a and you can have 100 frames in a box, and there's a difference between having space versus usable space.
Yep.
So they can spread out, and they can keep from bumping into each other and everything else, but that space is just a place to stand if they don't have a place to put in the hole. So be careful on, one of the things you'll see a lot of beekeepers do is they got in there, they found swarm cells, they cut them all off, they put another box in. Well, you just delayed them about 10 days. They're still
Yeah.
going to swarm.
Right.
Um, because they weren't managed properly, and unless they draw that comb out pretty darn quick, you're not giving them usable space, you're only giving them standing room. So there's that. But I had my horizontal hive swarmed on me, put 3 pounds plus bees hanging up in the tree. I mean, I even called it. I knew what color that queen was. She was an off tannish brown. Sure enough, I backed the truck under there, shook them. Boom, she was on a frame. Pulled her up, put her in the cage, let them set up. It's sitting on the bee stand. But the next day, I went into that hive and I counted 9, maybe 10 queen cells that they had built. A couple of them hadn't been capped yet. There was 4 or 5 that were. So I'm thinking about time frames between when they went, when they whatever.
Yeah.
I reduced that down to 2 queen cells on the same side of a frame. Let one queen come out and immediately go take care of the other one.
Yep. Yeah.
But but
Yeah.
here was
I
but I
mean, I had
tested.
one box I tipped up one time. We had 25 queen cells.
Mm, yeah,
And it was just one of those things. It was like I don't know if it was weather. I can't remember exactly what happened, or a life gets in your way. So tipped it 25 queen cells, one damaged when I tipped it. And at that point, I'm like, do I make nukes? Do I let them battle it out? Do I, so I flip it once. I always leave, a couple for them, and I just let them battle it out. And I know there's a lot of experienced keepers that would be like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just let them have it, and two is all you get, and then you handle the rest. And um, it's not wrong, I don't think. It's just always kind of what I feel like they were wanting to do. But I totally get you. And I probably am gonna had a couple of cast swarms because of that very thing. But that's okay. That's okay.
well,
It is. I
it
feel
it
good and comfortable about what I do, and then that's the thing I tell people. It's like if you kind of feel like what you're doing works, do that, you know?
Now, I'm gonna support that 100%. I don't want anybody that's actually listening to this either now or in the future thinking that what I do is better than what you do, because here's
Oh,
one thing. Yeah,
no.
one definite thing about cast worms is that they're generally smaller. Now, you'll have you can have those multiple unmateds that are flying around in that, but your cast worms are usually generally a lot smaller. And somebody's going to say, yeah, but that's still bees that could be working and doing or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And it's part of your resources that they're taken with. It is. And nobody wants to do that. But generally, you're looking at 2 frames of literal bees. You're looking
Yeah.
at, 2 frames of bees. That's 21 days worth. That's 21 days behind.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
so it's,
those are excellent boxes to combine back,
yeah.
don't you think? Yeah.
Now, re- I will say that here's one possible thing. If you catch a swarm like that out of your own yard, um, in hopes, here's one possible solution: get those bees and get them into a box, get them on a stand, and then if it's in the shade, hopefully weather will allow, but lock them in for 2 days. All right. Make sure that they've got some, they've got some kind of feed. They've already stolen some resources. But if you can, maybe if you've got a feeder jar or something that you put some feed on them, a little bit of pollen, but lock them in for 2 days, and then try that, because that's an opportunity for the whatever is in there of unmated queens to take care of each other. So,
Yeah.
there's that. Does it always work? No, but that's supposed to be what nature tells them to do.
Yeah.
Is, we make this noise, we find each other, we battle royale, total queen cat fight good thing going on. So there's an option, just as for the newer
Yeah.
people that are trying to figure it out. There's your possible solution on something.
Well, and the good thing is there's a lot of different ways to do it. And so probably it's going to work out.
Yeah,
Whatever you do, it's going to work out because they're going to do what they're going to do. But I think that's really cool. And that's interesting that, now you got me thinking about how I can actually build my numbers up more. Uh, it, it- yeah, old habits, I guess, old habits. But yeah, it's really cool. And you guys, that was what I was saying. You guys inspire me, like a lot of them at the convention, you included, listening to all these new things and new ways. Once you get the basics, and you feel that third year confidence, I always call it,
yeah,
and where you just feel like, okay, I know the general, aspects of beekeeping.
yeah,
Now, years like you'll start researching and playing this way. Maybe you go this way and you start going down different alleys. But when we all come together and talk, it's like, okay, I didn't go down that road, but that's interesting,
yeah,
and you can see why things would make sense. Whereas when you're first starting out, you don't really even see why something
yeah,
would make sense yet. And that's what's really cool. And I think that's why a lot of people watch you too, because you've done it, you've seen it. And if they're going down a path, it may not be this video, maybe it's the next video.
yeah,
um they're going to be like, okay, all right, I'm on the right track. So
yeah.
kudos to you. Yeah.
So
And all I do is train the very, very new ones. It's okay. And the people who don't necessarily want to know the exact term for something,
yeah,
because that's kind of my thing. I try and talk like, I use refrigerators and things that we use in everyday life to try and get people thinking in a way that is going to help them in beekeeping, because they're already naturally doing this with their kids or naturally doing this with their home. And when they can start connecting those dots, they can kind of see the path because it feels more familiar that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Cool.
you're up in there in the mountains of
I'm in the mountains.
the
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina. How how long of a season do you actually have for building up and collecting? As far as blooming window, um, roughly.
Well, I would say we are going to have our first flow here probably next week. And they're already pulling in some things. It just depends on the year and the climate. And
Yeah.
then it pretty much shuts down in July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we have a few
July.
late August. Yeah, so most of our flow is tulip poplar. That's the major flow for our area, and that's going to hit May. But we'll have blackberries for a while before that. But everything kind of comes, and then we will have a late August secondary flow some years.
Yeah.
Goldenrod will, depends on how good goldenrod is, and another tree which I can't all of a sudden think of. But we have a real bad like 2.5 week dearth in July with a couple of weeks or 1 week, and then we're done. Pretty
Okay.
much.
Have you
Pretty
got
much.
have you got
Basswood, our only other
basswood?
though.
Oh yeah, yeah, basswood.
We just don't have
Okay,
that
so
much.
yeah, you have a lot more flow out of trees than than wildflower.
Oh, absolutely. Trees
Okay.
are number one. Yes.
Okay.
Um, and I talk about going for new keepers to go on that honeybee.net. You've been on that, I'm
Yeah.
sure, that NAP puts out.
Yeah.
You can get the actual flows and timelines.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point to bring that up. Basically, you were saying you were doing certain things based on the flows. So it's a good way for you to figure out what you want to do when something presents based on those
Yeah.
flow timelines.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, no,
think
we'll be done soon.
yeah, we've so for me the last couple of years, um and this is something that I've actually observed it for. I've been here for 20, well, right at 30 years, and I've noticed this back many years ago. But we'll have these mild winters in the Alabama, in this southern region where I'm at. Winter will be pretty mild. I mean, I used to make the joke that it was like you could ride a motorcycle about 11 months in 1 week out of the year in the South because
Yeah.
it's we today we went through 3 of the 4 seasons. It started out this morning. I needed a sweatshirt, and the wind was blowing, and it was kind of very early spring, late winter, and then by lunchtime, I was going through summer. Pull the sweatshirt off, catching swarms, and then right here before I ran into turn the camera on and get the studio going, it was like, oh crap, it's fall again. So
Mhm.
I'm just glad I don't
Mhm.
have snow, but um,
Mhm.
we are. I'm hoping that we make it past. There's supposed to be a surprise frost that could be coming in the week of the 20th something here in Alabama. We're supposed to
Mhm.
potentially have a surprise frost, but other than that, today I was expecting to get the swarm calls because they've been kind of cold. We've been gone through that, and then today, bam, overnight it
Yeah.
went to 70 something degrees today. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have 5 little winters in the mountain. So we have the redbud, and then we just went through this little cold spell was dogwood. So we'll
yeah,
have blackberry, we'll have locust, blackberry, and then Rich's winter.
yeah,
So that's kind of a good indication too. So the swarms we caught were right after redbud, right before dogwood,
okay,
and then we'll have another round here probably coming, the next couple of days. But then another round that will come after blackberry. So it's very interesting. And our winters, we didn't have any measurable snow for the last 2 years, and that's just not like us.
oh
In
wow,
fact, they changed the growing zone for Western North Carolina. How they do the grow zone.
yeah, yeah,
So, and I think that was a really hard for the bees to adapt to because they're flying and, they used to not fly in November, you
all right.
know, or very rarely in November and December. And the last 3 years, they're flying with nothing to eat.
Yeah, see, now where I'm at, we've got that whole 11 months and 1 week of motorcycle weather, but it's also bee flying weather because the area where I'm located is not agriculture. It's basically hills and trees and valleys, and we have a lot of pasture land. cow grazing, pasture land, and whatnot. But I mean, I'm out in the country, just outside the city areas, and we have a lot of variety of winter weeds that will go through. In the fall, we get so much clover. Clover will kick back up in, make it through winter. But I mean, clover has not come up here yet. But the dandelions and the henbits and the winter weeds have really just
Yeah.
gone crazy. So I kind of understand what you're saying. It's like for me, the bees get to flying and they have that resource. I always tell people this. I said there's not enough out there for them to bring home a doggy bag. All right,
Yeah.
but there's enough for them to make a daily meal. But you're not going to
Right.
get leftovers in the refrigerator that night. And
No.
but
No.
it helps. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're mostly trees up where you're at, then bless your bee's heart. They're
Well,
just
we used to have a lot of, people are getting rid of goldenrod and because
yeah
of the allergies, and they're getting rid of, we used to have a lot of buckwheat. That was a nice fall, food for
yeah
them. The fall foods in our area have really, really been diminished. The chestnut is obviously under the blight. It used to be something that would feed bees too. So we're seeing a lot of really, really empty hives right before, spring, right before the flows start. So
hmm
here, like, you guys really need to check your resources, check those boxes because there's just nothing. Like our clover hadn't started yet. We will have clover too, but it's
yeah.
not, we're not even close. And they're flying like crazy. So, yeah,
Well,
we just wait for the tulip poplar.
yeah. And the funny thing is they're so darn resourceful. There's probably some stuff out there that we just don't give them credit to find.
Yeah,
But there's something out there. But
yeah,
more
bring
power
it
to them.
to
Yeah.
me. Very
Well,
cool. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. If people are going to do that pollinator seed thing, I wish that I talked to someone recently who about, when they target certain areas for flowers, they need to really target the times a year when flowers need to be there.
yeah.
And so they can't start doing that. So we can help our feed our bees. But yeah,
Well,
very cool.
it's funny because like you know my friends that are over towards the Louisiana, South Mississippi area. If you've never been in New Orleans, it blow your mind that the amount of tallow trees that they have now. So there's like multiple different varieties of tallow, and I'm not an expert on any of that stuff because where I have privet, which is just basically a very thin, shrubby, invasive pain in the butt to most people who like land. I like my bees, and for 2 weeks plus, my privet gives me what I need. So leave it alone the rest of the year.
Yeah,
But when I would go to New Orleans to visit with JP the Bee Man, and we would do removals, and I was going through my learning phase of all that.
yeah,
Um, it's crazy because you don't drive down the street through anywhere in that area that they don't have these big old trees um of tallow. And
wow.
then when I'm over in North Mississippi, they have more of what I call privet, but they call Chinese tallow,
Yeah,
invasive bush or type weed thing. And then you get to me, and it's privet. But at the end of the day, what's actually sad is that nobody likes any of them except for a beekeeper, and
yeah,
to the point to where the states are trying to figure out how they can get rid of this stuff.
yep,
And
yep.
and
I
because
agree.
we're
We have Japanese knotwood is a fall food, and it was brought in, and it's a very invasive one, but it helps pack our hives for about 2 weeks in
yeah
the fall. So I agree. What are you gonna do? But if people would figure out a way to plant more native, and I don't want to be all woo woo because I'm not, okay, but I do want food for the bees. But more
yeah
native stuff that bloom different times a year that actually bees need. That's what I would love to see because the agricultural stuff, it's seasonal, and
yeah
I'm all for it. Make money. Let's do farms. Let's do it all. But if
Yeah.
they want to bring our pollinators or have pollinators available, we got to give a little. They got to give a little back.
Yeah.
Plant me buckwheat.
Yeah. Jason Crook was commenting in the comments under Bohemia Bees that they've got Bradford pears up in the Northeast and it's aggressively invasive. Brother, you ain't the only one. I find it funny because a lot of the southern states love to see those little white blooming trees in the spring, right? Um, they're a beautiful tree. They're just completely they destroy everything around them. Don't ask me how it happened, but we had some pear trees we put out, and we had one apple tree, planted some other apple trees, but my neighbor ends up they were doing great for the first 2 or 3 years that we had them. They were growing, things were going good. I mean, they literally were starting to throw a couple little apples out here and there, and my neighbor decides he wants to put a whole row of Bradford pears across the front of his house. And I think he was trying to be nice to me because he knew one day he was going to die and who was going to end up with the house. He was just trying to protect me. But, um, those things are big. They're huge now, just like you'd see everywhere else. But every one of my fruit trees, um, ended up dying off, and
Wow.
that quit producing the fruit and died off probably
Wow.
2 years after that. And
Huh.
I'm not a tree guy. I can't say that was or what, but I mean, you don't take something that was doing great and then all of a sudden all those come in, and then right after the first blooming season of it in the spring, that year everything I had died. And
Well, I think I've heard they're doing like programs now to kind of try and take them out.
mhm,
So I don't know if it was here or somewhere else. I heard it in North Carolina, but they will change a tree with you. So I would check in if you have a Bradford you want to get rid of. They will give you a tree to take it out, um, because apparently, and maybe that's why. Maybe it's doing a lot more damage, like it did for you, than
yeah,
even just taking over. And all of that. But I know that it does take over all the little, the little grassland, forest, flowers, all of that.
yeah,
We aren't seeing any of that much. Plus, I will say the wildfire, the fact that we're not having a lot of natural burns,
mhm,
is actually not bringing back a lot of flowers too. So I know people want to save trees. There's people who just want to save trees no matter what, but
yeah.
you know, if we're not going to have natural burns, we're going to lose a lot.
Oh
A lot
shoot,
of talk about mushrooms, I mean, heck, we have the morels here that require that basically. So
yeah.
you just don't know what you're, killing when you're putting in weird stuff. So I don't know how do we get on that woo woo stuff, but yeah, you know, I'm like, sometimes as a beekeeper, I feel like, people think I'm whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm just here for the honey
Well,
and basically for me, not for
yeah.
everybody else.
Well, there's plenty of people that are still in here supporting you and doing a great
Hey,
job at it. I mean,
thanks, everybody.
Murphy's still in here, Bohemia Bee's still in here.
Hey,
I
Murphy, you were supposed to join us. Where are you? I sent you a message, right? Okay, that's okay. That's
well, uh,
fine.
so so he ended up having to go do that removal today. He sent me a picture of what he got into, and
I
I had about 2 seconds to look at it, and I went, "Oh wow!" But I mean, I couldn't even study it. But all I can say is that man got that done, and got back in record time. I'd probably still be crying about it. I'm getting too old to bend over and do all that stuff.
saw.
I'm like, forget it. Y'all would have to help. Baby needs new shoes. You guys are gonna have to keep help promoting this channel to keep going. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if anyone in here is following me or whatever, if you have not subscribed to him, I'm going to be mad and I will know it. So please do. No, I'm just kidding. It's a really good channel. So please make sure to subscribe and share it out to other beekeepers who couldn't make it tonight, because Yappy has amazing experience and he has got great stories too. So yeah, I hope you
well,
guys. Yeah, it's true.
Oh no! I thought you were talking about
Except for
Brad.
he's got a bad choice of friends and Brad, but other than that,
Yeah, I mean, here I thought you were promoting Brad's TikTok channel over on Murphy Bees or something. Man, yeah, he's commenting down here. He's like, "Yeah, my body's wrecked." I'm going, "Yeah." I mean, that's like a gorilla trying to literally, fit into a shoebox to get a bunch of bees. Man, bless your heart. I'll end up talking to him tomorrow. I can't wait to hear the story. It's gonna be funny.
yeah,
But
I told him to see the video. I hope he got a lot of video because
yeah,
that's amazing.
well, I'll let him tell you. I'll let him tell you the story first. Hey, so, um, we're an hour and 50 minutes into this. This is amazing.
Okay.
Because we can get into this, and it's we have these little chats and these roundtables. I don't know if anybody that's sitting here listening to this actually even really gets into the conversation of. All right, I'm not I'm not giving you guys anything exciting to look at. All right, now Michelle, you know you guys have to make a decision on whether or not you're happy with that. That's up to you guys. But I'm hoping that the information that we got, as far as just some of the stories and everything else, has really kind of kept everybody primarily entertained. All right. But also thought processes. And that's one of the things I want to do with this channel. I want to kind of start, I really want to push a thought process for newer beekeepers to really pay attention to management processing, the managing their hives. Um, looking at it like you're a small farmer. All right.
Mhm.
People that put cows out in the field and just keep water in the bucket, they can make a cow, grow and then put it in the freezer. But then you have people that farm and actually understand the process, whether it be a cow, a pig, or chickens. They know how to feed them, how to treat them, how to produce a quality product to get the most out of it. Because you can keep a cow out on the field all day long, all right, but if the thing's full of worms and it just kind of gets crappy food, then you're going to have crappy steaks, and not you're still paying the same amount to get it processed. You just don't get as much out of it. And it's the same thing with our bees. If we literally will take the time to manage our bees, know our limitations on how much we can handle, all right, because every beekeeper wants, yeah, every beekeeper, all they see is, I've got one, I want another one. And then next thing you know, they've got 17 boxes of bees sitting out there and they can't manage them. And and I say that because how long does it take to go through a beehive today? 20 minutes.
Yeah,
You crack it, you lift it up, you make sure there's no cells, you're looking for how much frames of brood you got here, how much you got there. I mean, I could do a 5-minute inspection. It don't take long to do it. The only problem is that, well, what if you found queen cells? Now what are you going to do? That 5-minute inspection just turned into a 30 to 40-minute, extravaganza, depending on how far away your empty boxes are. Because now you have to set that back down. Now you've got to go to the garage, the shop, down in the bottom of the yard, in the barn,
yeah,
bring all that equipment back up. And now you've got to set a place on the stand, or if you ain't to set it there, you got to have the little cart to haul it so you can put it back over there on the other stand. But
yeah,
you just turned a 5-minute inspection into an hour-long thing. And what just happened? How many 5 minutes are in an hour? And instead of being able to check 20 more hives, you just screwed up. Now you're spending an hour here, and those other ones didn't get it. So
yeah.
there's there is a, as Jason says it, there's a B math. And
Hmm.
and when you get to a point where you can't take care of the five, you're not and you've got 20, none of them get took care of, and
That's
you
right.
start having problems. So
Well, that's it.
um
So we talked about this week on my channel because a lot of people were like, I have two, I only want two. I have six, I only want six, and all this, and I'm like, the and then and what do I do? I'm getting ready to do. My biggest thing is you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan before you go into inspection. And if you have a plan, you're going to know you need boxes just in case. You're going to know you need whatever just in case. But you're right, on your apiary, a bigger plan too. Do you have all the equipment if everything expands? Is it nearby? Are you ready to go? And having that plan and thinking all that through before you actually light your smoker is key, so that you don't waste time and you don't uh, do something quickly that you end up having to go and do again, or waste a bunch of time, like you said, having to run to the barn to get 10 boxes.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% behind that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's some other bee math. All right. We order a kit, or we go to the local retailer to where we get all our stuff, right? And we plan on, if we do our bee math properly, we need a bottom board. We Hypothetical, we need two deeps, all right? Um Excluder and no excluder doesn't matter to me. And then we've got, maybe we'll just say we've got three supers. Okay, mediums. So we've got double deep and three mediums, and we got our top cover and everything's great. And we come back home, and all of a sudden, this thing starts going crazy. Oh, we're great. Well, I missed an inspection. I got a swarm hanging up in a tree. Or what happens? Well, grandma from church calls. She said, "Hey, I got this coconut ball in my tree, and it needs bees. You can come and get them if you want them." Well, what do? Man, you grab, oh crap. So now I stop by and I get a bottom board because, well, this is a tight week. So I buy a bottom board because I already have another deep, and, grab a couple of frames, and okay, we got the frames, but now I got to have another top cover. So bottom board and a top cover, go grab grandma's bees. But now all of a sudden that colony that I bought that box for is now booming.
Great. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I caught grandma's 3-pound swarm, and I got that box going, but I ran out of equipment because I had, anyway. See, this bee math, it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, and you come home, and it'll happen quick, and it's hard to say no.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it is, and it's, especially if you start getting addicted to it.
oh shoot.
Because then you're going to want to go get that swarm. So you better have that equipment ready. So then you have to become a Facebook specialist on bee equipment, or yeah. And fortunately in North Carolina we have the NASA. I haven't used it yet, but it's really cool. They have the NASA equipment that sterilized the moon rocks.
Yeah.
They came back from the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can send your bee boxes, comb included, down there, and for a fee, they will sterilize them.
Yeah.
So if you get old stuff, you can do that. Like, now, I thought that was cool.
Well, I don't know how much it cost. There was something, I think, that originated, I swear, and it's been a few years, so don't hold this to me, but I've heard of that, okay, with the sterilization of the boxes. But I honestly thought that was something that started out of Australia. There was something that I've heard about that very thing. And
yeah, I just know that they bought that piece of equipment from NASA. And the bee inspector, you can arrange it with him, and apparently I haven't done it yet, but and he'll take the boxes down and sterilize them for you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, let me throw. Yeah. Now here comes another one of those little crazy nugget things, guys. Let me throw this one at you. All right, we've been talking this whole management thing, and so fall management, we tend to start looking at our beehives and we say, okay, we're going to run treatments on everything we got. I'm going to try to keep this in somewhat, keeping the argument side of this down. Okay, because if I don't specifically say a few things, somebody is going to come back after this replays, and if I say what I'm about to say, somebody's going to go, well, you can't do that because if you didn't treat them all before you did what I'm about to tell y'all, then you're going to kill everything you got. And it's like, okay, that's like Grandpa Forrest Gump right there. Everything you got. So we treated them, and now we've gone back through its fall management. And one of the things that people will do is they will start to reduce the space down to get them through winter. But sometimes you're going to find you've got a colony that may be, what if you get in there and you got 4 or 5 frames of bees? All right. There's a chance that we can turn around and we can take those bees out. We're going to catch that queen. We're going to decide what we're going to do with her. That's up to you. All right. You can put her in a jar of queens to make swarm lure out of. You can find somebody that wants them for something else. For some reason, you have done away with this queen and you've taken the bees off of those frames and added them to something else just to where they can support one of those things. That's a management thought process. But here's another question. Why do we not consider, when we catch swarms, to take and cage a queen and then add those bees to another colony for a rapid boost in numbers?
I think that's done, right? I
Well,
mean, I know what you're saying. I guess when I think of doing that process, it's a cast swarm.
no, I mean, it's one of those deals where it really, I could take, let's say I've got multiple 5 frame nukes set up right in my yard right now. Okay, here's a hypothetical. All right, today I went and I got a swarm. All right, that I know I found her. I mean, I found the dead queen. All right,
Sure.
she didn't survive the baseball bat.
Yeah.
But I've got minimum 2, probably 3 frames of bees out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there, part of what I will do is I don't have a problem with saying, okay, I've got a 5 frame nuke that I'm about to put in a 10 frame and then turn around and catch a swarm. I don't have to literally box every queen and multiple pounds of bees into a separate box.
Right.
You can, based on what we were talking about equipment, you can take a queen, give her to somebody else, do whatever you want with her.
Yes.
I'm not, but you can take those, you can literally take 2 swarms, figure out which queen it's a hit or miss. You're either going to have a good one here, good one there, whatever. All right.
Yeah. I
But
just let them
do
battle
that.
it out. I have done that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know that new keepers know how to do that necessarily, but but I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem combining 2 week hives before winter.
Yeah.
And let them be very strong going into winter. I think that's a good management practice. It's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing.
Well,
The nuke is a weak hive.
yeah. Well, see, there's so many little kinks to that. All right. Well, what if that swarm was created because they were swarming to reduce their mite population in the original colony, and now you're adding a whole bunch of mites into your colony? Well, you know what? There's going to come a short time before. Let's put it this way. I'm gonna follow that progress of that colony, and I'm going to know A, whether I need to treat them or not. B, I can treat them if I need to. So I mean, that's management process down the road. But nobody really turns around and actually will speak it that I've heard. And I don't mean it disrespectful, but management, you don't have to put every swarm in its own box.
Yeah, I think you're right. I yeah, I think there's a million ways to have bees. You can it's putting swarms in boxes, I guess, is the most that everyone does it because it's an instant way to grow your apiary because most people
Mm-hmm.
want to grow their apiary. So the more, obviously queens you have, the bigger your apiary. Now, what you're asking whether or not you need to just have hives for the sake of having hives, that's a good question. And fall is the time for that question because there's many a year in the fall when you combine hives. So if you're saying do that in spring versus fall, it's kind of the same process. I guess I always do individual hives just because if one swarm, also I do like swarms and that they're wax builders for me.
Oh
They
God,
really
yeah.
do. Yeah, they make a lot of wax. So if I have a ton of swarms, then I can make a lot of new wax really quickly. I don't have the benefit of 100 hives to do that and share as well.
Yeah.
So so it's easier to combine them back in the fall and take that old brood comb and process that. by having all those in the springtime. I guess it has to do with your goals for real. I think it's coming back to that again. If you want a booming hive that's going to go and just get tons and tons of honey, it would make a lot of sense to put a swarm that way because you're going to have that great workforce number going out and getting it during the flow.
Oh no.
But
So I'm going to play up what you just said. All right.
okay,
So I've got a box that's doing good,
yeah,
and I want to increase that box in its size and its frame numbers and everything else.
yeah,
So I turned around and I'm dumping 3 to 4 pounds of bees into an established colony, and I just gave them another 10 frame box in hopes that now they're going to utilize that, draw me some comb in there, and I just turned a single deep. All right, that's about to, depending on, get into a flow, and they're going to draw, but they're not going to draw it nowhere near as fast as what that swarm will. But
yeah,
now see, it's that thinking outside the box, that how I told
yeah,
you that I screw with them to
yeah,
manipulate them to see what can I make this happen. Now, commercial beekeepers are if this gets out there, I'll run circles with commercial guys all day long, and at the end of the conversation I'll say, you know what, you've got the experience to do A, B equals C, come out with a standard outcome, and I'm not in your world.
yeah,
You are a farmer, and your life depends on your outcome, and they have processes that they stick to, and it's not what we do as backyard beekeepers.
yeah,
All right.
true,
So there's a lot of things we imitate as backyard beekeepers to go kind of similar to what we see as that the commercial guys do. I have the I have the luxury to manipulate and screw with things that aren't supposed to be done with, just because I
right,
want to see what they'll do. You know what I'm
sure,
saying?
yeah,
And
oh, yeah. Go ahead.
but you know, it's it's that it's that experience and that um you know outcome of good or bad. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. Or wow, I this is something I may go down this road again.
No,
you,
I
you know,
totally agree. I do believe that queens will respond. It's so hard to judge a queen from like a little 5 frame nuke. And queens will start laying depending on how much support they have. So if you start adding a bunch of bees to a queen that you think is like, she's not really making it, she may turn around and just start booming
yeah.
because you've got the support. And in some ways, and I am not in that vein either if they're commercial guys here, the way that they just, roll bees and put bees and they equalize so well, it
Hmm.
feels like. There's a lot to be said for that. And I think as backyard beekeepers, we kind of like we do a little equalizing, but we don't do it quite as aggressively as they do.
All right.
And so that's what I think you're talking about. Um, doing that, seeing what they've done, and trying to do that a little bit more. Am I wrong on that? Am I hearing you
No,
wrong?
no. I
Okay.
mean, it's just one of the things that I always get to is I'll ask everybody, help me understand. How many hives do you have? You tell me a number, and I say
Mhm.
okay. But then when I come back with this and I say, but how many strong hives do you have? They kind of go, hang on a minute, because
Yeah.
I can have I've got a 6 slot nucleus maker out there,
Hmm.
and the first one is a swarm that I caught that come off of mailbox. I think that's the one that will come off a mailbox. All right, they're ready. They're ready to go into a 10 frame. In fact, I'll. It's going to be funny because if I don't get into them tomorrow morning, I'll put a dollar bill on it right here now. Okay, I'm putting a dollar bill out there, and I'm going to say if I'm wrong, I'll have to send Jason Crook the dollar.
Mm.
If I'm wrong, there's a chance that colony could actually start build. They could be building queen cells because they only got 5 frames. There was every bit of 3.5 pounds of bees on that mailbox, and they've been sitting in there for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So resource wise, if they've been pulling anything nectar wise in and they've got it drawn out, it's getting really close to where they can go and hang on a minute. I mean, we're already out of room,
Yeah.
but they're ready to go into a 10 frame box. I just got to confirm. Now, all that being said and done with, but then the next one over, it's a 2 framer, and so what can I do with one of them's already got to go into. If I take those 5 frames of bees out and I stick them into another box, now I just gave them 5 brand new frames they got to draw. And
Yeah.
I either better put sugar water on them or hope that there's a good flow so that they can make that comb.
Yeah.
All right. But it's still, what's the one thing that every beekeeper is told when they first get into this? They always ask this one single question, and the answer is always the same. How long before I get honey?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And how
Okay.
much? How much?
And how
Okay.
much? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they, and what do we tell them? Don't expect to get a single drop until next year.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
But
Yeah.
yet I put 10 plus pounds of bees into a hive and they overwinter with 7 frames. But I mean, I literally could have harvested honey off of them, but it was 10 pounds of bees on 18 frames in one season with no rain. Where
Yeah.
did they get that from? I don't know.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
everyone's, but all I'm saying is what if I take those 5 frames of bees and tomorrow I go catch a swarm and I pull the queen out of there because we already know. I mean, here's an argument. Listen, they're running this up in the comments. I said $1 and now they're already like, well, I got 10 1, can I get a 15? I mean, it's like you kill me. I said $1, that's all you get. Quit. But it's just thinking outside that box of, well, what
You're
if
saying
I
take your 5 frame and put those bees in it.
yeah, and then but then all of a sudden I go here in the next week or so and I catch 5 more, I catch a couple more pounds of bees. A lot of beekeepers will say, well, if you catch a bee from catch a queen in a swarm, then she's going to swarm again on you. There's once they've done it once, they're always swarmy queens. It is what it is. I don't know that I can agree or disagree with that. I still don't understand that concept. All right. I mean,
But
if you
I do think she's older. So I kind of, and now with all the queen problems, I think we've almost decided this year any swarm queen that we get is going to get eliminated in fall.
yeah,
Period. We're going to make new queens for all of those hives. So there's a good argument for taking that other queen and giving it to those swarm bees. That might be the thing to do. So you just gave me an idea. So
I mean,
yeah,
I just want to manipulate.
that's what's great about it. Yeah, I'm like, maybe we'll do later or mid-season nukes, and then just use those queens to requeen our swarm. You know what I mean? To try, I don't know, but then I don't know. It's for me. It's just I'm more worried about having a good queen get through winter because we've had such tremendously warm falls. That
Yeah.
seems to be my focus. And because our mite counts are going up higher towards the end of our honey flow, it's the treating of the hives. We're in the last 2 years, the mite counts have been so high. We really need to oxalic in that last end. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
Because they're so out of control by the time we are putting traditional treatments on it, they just aren't going to make it. They're going to just take off. So
well, I'm interested in seeing what this oxalic acid strips that Cayman was talking about last night and kind of where that goes. That's going to be some real interesting information to see how that goes.
yeah,
It's another aspect of it, but I can't wait to see, is this something is it something that you can put in there, but you still have to take your supers off, or is it something that maybe is, a traveling across thing? I heard him talking about it, but I didn't catch a whole lot of how it's going to work. But this is going to be pretty interesting as far as that. There's, that'll we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah, definitely.
anyway, all right. So we've teased everybody with a whole bunch of nuggets, but we have not given them enough to make a meal, and I think we're doing pretty good there. We're literally 2 hours and 15 minutes into
I'm
this. I
sorry. Yeah.
I say we take a stretch. Okay, everybody get a 5 minute break. I wish we could pause if I could pause this, I'd say okay, this is the intermission time. I'm going to go ahead and as far as with you being on here, I'm going to say thank you so much for taking the
Oh,
call, answering
thank
the
you.
save Yappy. Listen, guys, if you're in here now, if you've made it this far, I did this in my last stream. Listen, people, if you are still in here at 2 hours and 15 minutes, please, and this is on the replay, please comment in there that you are still here in two
Yeah.
hours and 15 minutes, because I'm telling you what, those, it really does. It actually helps me understand. It makes me feel good. And it's going to make Michelle feel good that we were actually entertaining enough to keep you here that long. And,
um,
um,
he is. I can't get this yet. You YouTube people.
okay,
Yeah.
look, hang on. Let me see. I'm looking at it. All right. So use your left hand. Yeah. Bingo. You
Yeah.
got it. Left hand
So
pointing
it's
that
like
way.
opposite. Yeah.
Left point
Uh-huh.
right. Okay. Here, pick my nose. But, um, is I actually oh wow, Grammy's still in here. I think you should do only women in beekeeping. No, I'm not.
Yes. That's right. Come
And
on.
but yeah, but she said I could call it
Keep
Yappy's
all the
Angels.
queens. We're gonna keep all the queens.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. See, listen, Grammy, here's the thing. Grammy's comment says, I think you should do only women in beekeeping, and then you could call it Yappy's Angels. The
Oh, that's
but
brilliant.
it
That's
is,
brilliant.
up until the fact of the matter is I know how you queens treat your drones in the fall, and I ain't going for it. Okay. So no.
Sure.
Listen, Jeff,
That's
don't agree with her,
exactly.
Jeff. Jeff's down there going, yes, Grammy. Don't agree with her.
hmm
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
hmm Yeah, and then Granny, you can take over. That's how it goes. See, she's trying to position herself to take over
Well,
the hive.
I tell you what though, I am gonna get you and Grammy hooked up together so you guys can end up talking all your prep and stuff. She does a lot of canning and vegetable and this and that. She's got one, she's coming up with some rabbit stuff that she's doing. You guys could sit and hit it off, but get
Yeah,
an opportunity to stream with her. Telling you what, she's a flipping oh, make me burp.
yeah.
She's a hoot.
I just
So
made bread. I just made a new yeast bread, honey yeast bread, between doing all this right before, and
hmm
walking around eating it. So
yeah,
yeah,
I told her, I said, we got to talking. I said something. She's like, yeah, I'm in here making bread. And I'm going, God, you remind me of Grammy. She's like, who's Grammy? And I'm going, you don't know Lisa Grammy midwife? And she's like, oh yeah, that one. I'm like, yeah, you twos are
yeah,
peas in a pod. But so I wanted to get in here tonight and get some stuff out there, guys. I'm building the new channel up. Okay. There are milestones that I want to reach, and part of those milestones um watch hours and different things, because um I do this because I want to. I do it because I love it. All right. But um I have an opportunity to where, this all this stuff costs me some money. All right. I really honestly, I don't do it because I want to be, on some big ladder and be famous and everything. My kids are going to look back at this stuff one day. I literally got into being YappyBeeman because I took a passion that I had, and I wanted to share it. Because a friend of mine, my mentor, was JP the Bee Man. And one day he said, man, he said, you ought to do this. And I went, that'd be pretty cool. But the more I thought about it, it was like, I just want to do this to, because someday I won't be here. My kids can look back at it, and if they ever want to just see dad and what his passion was about it, they can just sit there and watch it. If nothing else, they don't pay attention to a word I say, but they can hear my voice. It matters to them. So that's my main reason why I'm here. But I also, I have this passion. I love bees. I love beekeeping. I love everything about this. And I have certain oddball ways that I look at it, how I deal, how I see, and it's not because my thoughts are better. I just don't. There's certain parts of this that I don't see that anybody else puts out there in certain ways to help think outside that box. So it gives me an opportunity through these platforms to just say, hey, don't be afraid of this. All right, jump in there, try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You tried to make some queens, it didn't work out. So pick those frames back up and put them back in the box. Big deal. But I also have now been given the opportunity to have this platform, and then it gives me the opportunity to share things with, you know, am I pointing the right way? Right hand goes, so
That
left hand, so left hand goes that. So now this lady, all right, but it gives me an opportunity to where I can bring other people in there and man, just laugh because I've had an absolute blast tonight. And you know, I yeah.
And I'm glad you thought of me, and I hope next time there'll be like a panel of like 5 girls down here. Yeah.
Nice. I'm
And
you
then
know
at
what?
the next convention, you can have, oh my gosh, at the next convention, you have to have your own booth set up with your angels. Oh,
Yappy and
please.
his Yappy and the
Oh my
Angels.
God, Cayman, you got to pitch that to Cayman or whoever else, or even at the new one down there at Hive Alive. What is it? I can't remember what it was called. It has a camera on.
Hive Alive, yeah, down in Slidell. Yeah.
Yeah,
With
it is
Jeff.
Hive Alive. So yeah, you could do like your angels booth. I
But
think
now
that's fabulous.
if we
Fabulous.
if we do it down there in Slidell though, I can completely get away with wearing the purple pimp outfit, okay? And
Yeah.
being Yappy, yeah, but it'll have to be bright orange and be that as Yappy Pimp and the Angels. That
Yeah,
would
and
be
we can
good.
all have our hive. We can have our hive tools. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the picture.
Yeah, like in the yeah, you know.
Yeah. Or someone has a smoker. Someone has a hive tool. Yes, I'm seeing it all.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Get it.
Grammy is literally she's screenshotting all this crap, man. I mean she's gonna hold it against me. She's gonna hold it against me.
Oh,
But
that's a t-shirt right there. That's a t-shirt right there. I can see it. Someone
yeah.
can design
So
it
three of them.
immediately.
Yappy's Angels. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sending the trademark off tomorrow morning, so too late for all you leave it alone,
I'm not
people.
have it.
But anyway, but I just so here, wait, I gotta do this. Okay. Nobody's gonna see I should have done this so much earlier, okay, but here, let's do this. Thank you. Our non-financial supporter of this show is swarmcommander.com. Please check
My.
out. Please go to swarmcommander.com for all your swarm lure needs. Actually, Scott Derrick owns Swarm Commander, and he is one of my bestest buds in this whole thing. I've known him since before Swarm Commander was named. I
Wow.
mean,
Wow.
me and him tagged and round tabled for 2 months, maybe a month. But we ended up we round table trying to come up with a name for what is now Swarm Commander. And I will say this: he was the one who actually thought of it and then sent it to me. He goes, "What do you think about this?" And I was kind of like, okay, I like it, fine, let's go with it. So we went with it. But at the end of the day, he has been since I started the YouTube channel, he has been nothing but an extreme supporter of it. And we're going to get to he and I have talked, and he wants to actually support the channel as a friend, not as a technically a sponsor of. But he turned around and he threw it at me. He said, "Man," he said, he said, "You tell me what you want," because he also owns Blythewood Bee Supply over in Blythewood, South Carolina. And he said, "You tell me what you want," he said, "and I will anything for giveaway." He said, "You set the goal," and he said, "Just give." He said, "This is I got carte blanche. I could give his whole store away."
Oh,
I
oh, yeah.
I told him, I said, hang on a minute. I said, how much do you still owe on your truck? And he said, why? Because heck, I'm giving it away. I mean, I don't care. I'm giving it all away. But,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, but guys, you know, right now I am full blown in swarm season. Okay. She's about to be there. And if you're closer to the Ohio, Michigan area, you're there. You just, you're not getting the calls yet, but it's pretty close darn to it. So, all I'm going to say is swarmcommander.com, get you a bottle. It's depending on where you get it, I think it's right around 29-ish dollars for a bottle of it. All right. But it is the original, the paterfamilias, the it when it comes to a swarm lure. Okay.
It absolutely is one of the, it's the thing that gets them every time. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much that there's so many stories that I've heard great about it. So please check out swarmcommander.com, get you a bottle, because at the end of the day, it increases your opportunity to catch a wild swarm exponentially. And for $29, you won't go through that bottle. I'm going to give you this. If you can go through a bottle of Swarm Commander in one season, you have laid some serious traps out. How much does a package of bees cost? Average.
200? 200?
You obviously haven't bought
Oh, a
package of bees in a long
package.
time.
Oh,
A package, yeah, package. 125 to 150. Just depends on where you're getting them. But so you're at $120 for a package versus $29 for a bottle of Swarm Commander, and you can hang up a couple of traps with it. All I can tell you is that if there's bees in the area and they swarm, you have upped your opportunity to get that swarm just because of the product. So please, we've gone on about Swarm Commander long enough. I'm about to remove the banner and say thank you all, swarmcommander.com, for just being a friend of the channel all the years that we've had the YappyBeeman, and now they've rolled over and said, hey, we're going to support HoneyMoneyTV too. So thank you very much for that.
that was
Now
great.
this, yeah, another non-supporter, horizontalbees.com, Ricky and Ruth, pretty close to you, actually. They're somewhere up in the North Carolina. I have paid for my bee colonies from Ricky and Ruth. I bought my colonies from them. All right. Full disclosure, I got 10% off just because I was cute. But Ricky swears up and down that Ruth needs glasses, so I don't know if that was just an accident or not. But anyway, I'm only kidding. They are the most wonderful couple, and she calls me Jappy all the time. Hey, Jappy, Jappy. Okay, if you know Ruth, you understand why that's funny. If you don't know Ruth, then just trust me, it's funny.
Yeah.
But I have now 3 working beehives from horizontalbees.com, and the 4th one I have is the multi-nuke setup that I can manipulate any way I want to. But it's a great beehive, and all I ask is that if you're anywhere, at least on the East Coast, I'm in Alabama, and I've known that they were delivering these things over into Louisiana back. They'll pretty much deliver them to you. But look up horizontalbees.com, check them out, because they're just a good family to shop with, and the quality of what they're building and the thermal capabilities of that colony absolutely blows my mind. I told you I put a large amount of bees into one. 10 frames overnight. I mean, just a couple days, I had 10 frames of comb drawn from a removal that was about to swarm. So they were prepped. I mean, that's not a normal. 10 frames within a day or two. And I just opened it all the way up and gave them 18. And they drew out probably 90 some percent of that. There's still some areas on a couple of those frames that they weren't fully drawn, but that blew my mind. And then they came out of winter with 7 frames of honey. Wow. During a season where it didn't even rain.
Wow.
So I've already made a split off that colony, and that's going to be another one. I'm telling you, I probably lost a swarm from that thing already. But they make a great quality beehive. So check out horizontalbees.com. This was a This is just a friend of the channel and not a sponsored paid anything. So, it is what it is. And one more to go. My buddies at HiveIQ.com, Australian company that makes a completely different style of beehives. They make the EPS, the poly type styrofoam. Um, they're not like anything else that's out there. They took something that was a great idea, and I like it. It's the thermal capabilities of, and they added so many design features that made it the top notch, one of the best beehives that you can get in regards to a thermal capable hive. And we're going to go over that a lot on the channel, where we talk about a wooden box and its R value versus some of these other type of colonies, and how will that help improve your beekeeping processes as a newer beekeeper. Okay, the first couple of years into these Hive IQ stuff's getting out there, guys, and they are they are just booming in the country as far as
think I saw it. They were at the convention, right?
yes,
Just
ma'am.
recently.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think we got a bottom forward from them. I think, but I can't remember. But
Well,
yeah, I was definitely very, very intrigued. We'll have to look at it really closely. So I'll go
yeah,
check it out.
and you'll see some of my update videos where I have multiple Hive IQ beehives,
Mhm.
and they so far, I've transferred some of my stronger hives into a couple of them. I had a couple of weak hives that I put into them. I've got one out there that was a large amount of bees that I put into a system, and I got to check on them here in the next few days, because they ended up got removed and got into a box. They started to build, and then we ended up going through the cold weather. So it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting to get in there and see how well they've done. But I will tell you this: if they haven't done well, it's because of me and my failure to have given them what they needed when they couldn't get it. So I'm
yeah.
going to admit I'm not perfect, but it is what it is. But the guys at Hive IQ, HiveIQ.com, unless you're in Australia, and then it's HiveIQ dot what is it AU down there. But keep an eye on them, because
That was
they're
interesting.
booming. Yes.
Yeah,
So
cool.
give me your socials, Michelle. Give me your socials.
Oh my
Let's give.
God. Okay, really. Honestly, I'm at TikTok is my main one. It's at Beeneighborly is my TikTok. I'm Michelle Pacewood on Instagram, but I really don't go there anymore because most of my demographics are actually very, very young. And so they don't in Instagram.
Yeah.
So, but I do occasionally. And then I'm on Facebook for the very, very old bunny people and for real
Yeah.
and events. So
Okay.
I'm Michelle Pacewood there, and I am Be Neighborly on TikTok. I will cross do it, but I have a YouTube, but we really don't want to compete with you guys. So most
Yeah.
people find me either on Facebook or on TikTok, and I just are locally. If I can help anybody do anything who's helping other people who are beginner beekeepers, just like you are here, Yappy, I'm gonna do it. So
Yeah.
come connect with me. That's great. I would love to see you at one of the local conventions too. I want to find out, if you're a female beekeeper, even better, but it's not necessary. I've got friends of all flavors and ages. So I'll just keep talking to those young kids and hopefully I'll get them started for you guys to take over and train them up once they get, to millennials.
I don't. I don't see any issues with you having to just get them started and then having to pass them off to us grumpy old farts.
That's
But
exactly what happened.
well, I'm just going to tell you, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight.
Oh,
it's
thank you.
been nice to see the comments. People have been really great in the comments about adding and socializing and everything else. I didn't realize I had such an awesome, well-known star in here. But I'm telling you,
Oh,
everybody, there's a bunch of people in here that knew you. So I feel
you're
like I'm in the
so
level of
awesome.
greatness. Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah,
Thanks, Charlie.
uh, but uh, Yeah,
No, we had,
Jason, between Jason and Brad, I think they were playing tag with each other on who could talk nicer about you. But
oh,
you were very well deserved of it.
oh,
Um,
that's really sweet. I guess I owe them that money that I don't remember how much it was.
yeah,
But
it's your bill just increased.
it was
Definitely would like to thank. Yeah, I'd like to thank Lee from Kodiak Bee Farm. He jumped in tonight on a short. What's heads up? I mean, I tried calling him. He just got off work, and then I texted him and said, "It's Yappy. Call me back." And like immediately calls me back, and I said, "Hey, brother, I didn't know what to expect in here. We haven't, we didn't go crazy on our numbers for Sunday night. We've had a lot of people in and out, but a couple nights ago we ran a stream, and it was we had a lot of silliness that found the channel and came in, and I asked Lee, so could you help me out tonight and maybe give me a little bit of moderation stuff, because I knew Grammy, who is one of my approved moderators in the chat, she was going to be a little bit late, and I definitely want to thank Miss Adelina. She is a longtime friend from the chicken world, and she also understands the bee stuff, and I have just had a pleasure of knowing her often, through she's followed me through chickens and 10 years of bees and everything else, but for somebody that I've never shaken hands with, she's absolutely just a wonderful friend, and I think the world of her. So I'd like to thank them for jumping in and helping mod things. She was just actually saying there was only one idiot that they had to deal with tonight, but thank you guys for jumping in there, and you as well. So with that, now after I say goodnight, don't leave the thing. You just stay right here where you're at, because after I say, yeah, you just stay. Yeah, don't close out yet.
Thank you, Tex, for getting all the stuff on my end done, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'll wait right here.
Yes, I would like you to
Thank
pass
you
those.
again for having me. Okay.
No, it was an absolute pleasure. But for everybody else that thank you guys for hanging in there. We went basically almost 36 more minutes than I had planned on to. But I mean, we've had a ball. I mean, seriously, I've had a ball, and we had to go a little bit longer so that Brad could finally get caught up and get in here.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but I mean,
Exactly.
if that's it. But everybody, I'm gonna put it right here on end stream. Thank you for all being here. Bless you, bless your bees, and I hope to each of you that your bees serve you well. And until debatably next week, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a certain schedule on the live streams yet, but we're going to try to get something going. But thank you all for being in here, and until the next stream, good night. We'll see you.